and welcome to the Mead Hall for today's episode of Tankard Talk, our new format podcast for all things hobby. I'm your host, Jay, and today I have with me...
Al!
John?
And Joe.
Hi guys, thank you for joining me. After a bit of a break behind the scenes, we're finally back, and honestly, a lot has changed. New projects, new armies, a few surprises along the way. And today is really all about getting back into the swing of things. In today's Tankard Talk, we are catching up, showing off some new projects, and taking a look at everything that was revealed at Adepticon, which for us was last week, I think. In today's Tankard Talk, we're catching up, showing off some projects, and taking a look at everything that was revealed at Adepticon, because there was a lot to unpack there. And this is just the start, because in a few days we'll be launching our brand new War Table series. More on that to come. Let's get into it. Well then, guys, here we are back, we are podcasting. It has been a bloody long time.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, so I think last time we were on the internet as a group, it was just before Christmas.
Yeah. I've seen channels with a longer hiatus between things, but yes, it's good to be back.
Absolutely it is.
Very good to be back, and to be honest, I've been waiting to come back for quite a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things happen. Lots have been going on in life, both related to the channel and just in general.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of things to talk about. Now, guys have got some show notes that has got my little bits on it, but is there anything you guys would like to have a little chat about or pop in, you know, what you've been up to in the last sort of, what was it now, nearly 4 months?
Nearly 4 months. I can't say that my end has been particularly exciting from a outside of hobbying perspective. It's just been, so working on stuff outside, and we'll talk about my working on stuff outside of things when we get to it.
Nice.
In those hobby areas. But yeah.
Anything from Joe?
Yeah, I've been sort of getting a performance in the works. Been working on getting my first professional performance together, looking at applying for a grant coming up soon.
Exciting.
Yeah, getting that on the road, doing some writing.
I feel like we should probably clarify what you mean by performance, because in the modern age of technology, that could mean many things.
That's true. A stage play.
There we go.
The opposite of technology.
Yeah.
In fact, go back to the classical arts.
Just thinking it might help set the stage better, because that could derail conversations in the comments. You never know.
Yeah.
What is Joe been up to?
Or drive comments.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe I should.
Have a guess.
Okay, cool. So from our end of things,
Yeah, you've got the far more exciting stories.
obviously the two of us are kind of joint in that regard.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give you a very quick rundown of what's been going on. So I think I previously mentioned in a short video that there's a new business that I've been working on. That's taken up a lot of time. In addition, obviously, we have a child now.
We had a baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's almost, time of recording, he is 9 weeks. So, yeah. Which has got, I feel like that has just, that's my reaction.
Yeah,
I feel like that's just gone so quickly.
That doesn't
He's
add up,
already
but-
growing. He's already growing out of his clothes. Like, that's how quick things are going. It's kind of crazy to be honest. So that's been basically consuming our life, as well as
Everything.
Jamie working most days on his business. It's just kind of been like really crazy, just all over the place to be honest. But I mean, we've managed, haven't we?
We certainly have. And the boy's already been introduced to the hobby. I mean, he's already been to the Warhammer store.
Yeah.
He's been affectionately labelled by our local manager as Little Lupercal.
Yeah. No, the first.
I told you that Little Horace was the correct name to go for, but you know.
Horace, which I liked, but he came up with
Little
Little Lupercal,
Lupercal,
which just rolled so much better.
One of the first things
very
that he
good.
said about him though was that he should be a little space wolf because
Oh.
Alex, our son, his name is, he's got bright blue eyes. and he opens his eyes, and the manager just goes, oh, should be a space wolf with those eyes. And I looked at Jamie, and it was just like murderous, just intent. It was brilliant. It was fantastic.
Loyalist filth.
Clearly, they're just a little Alfarius, let's be honest.
I mean,
They
yeah,
will be.
basically.
So that's kind of where we've kind of been. We've obviously been, mostly me in this regard. I've still been working in the background to get things ready, and hopefully those of you who have followed us recently or even from the beginning, although I doubt there's many of you still, things have changed a lot. I have put a lot of effort into upgrading things. So what is one of the many new changes that is coming to our channel is obviously the new look. This is the start. There's more things that you'll see as we go on, but this is generally the new look of everything.
Very clean.
Yeah, and hopefully a bit brighter as well. The previous stuff was quite a bit darker, so I try to brighten up a little bit.
Bit grungy.
We have got some new shows, one of which I'm able to talk about in a minute, but the others I'm going to keep strum about for a minute until I actually decide how they're going to look.
Yep.
I'll give you a hint. That's it.
You can't resist. You can't resist the teaser.
No. And so what this is also going to tell is we've all had a little chat recently. We are going to be getting a proper schedule in place, so hopefully we'll be nice and consistent with the new set of content coming out. So we've got a bit more of a plan involved now, and we're dare I say taking ourselves a bit more seriously in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of a more focused and driven approach to it.
Yeah, we'll attempt less tangents, but let's be honest, that's never going to happen.
I'm sure we're all on the spectrum somewhere, so that's going to be...
I made no promises.
I have no expectations. I have hopes, and not many.
Hopes and dreams.
Yes, naive maybe they may be. So, one of the new things that is coming out, and I've already alluded to it already, is we have got a new show that will be weekly, which is called War Table. That's what we're calling it. It's War Table. It is a brand new battle report show, but not the current variation on the battle report. The likes of tabletop tactics and Play On and the multitude of others. Those are just two big ones that came straight to mind. It's very video formats, talking, moving models around the table, and all that jazz. We don't have the time, capability, or setup to do that. We have tried it in the past. More than once, to varying degrees of failure. I chose my words carefully. However, what we have done is we basically looked at the old White Dwarf battle report style of doing things and tried to build that into a video format and podcast format. Now, obviously, we haven't done that yet as of recording. We're not 100% sure it's going to work. But from the testing that we've been doing, it looks promising. So
yeah, I was just going to say, it conceptually works. Like, all of the ideas are there. It's just we need to put it into practice now.
Yes, hopefully the execution will work. So, interestingly, hopefully this new style of battle report will be something that you will enjoy. It will give you something to listen to. My concept potentially behind it is it will be quite a nice type of battle report to watch while painting, because I tend to find that watching video format battle reports is quite... I find it annoying to watch because I'm looking at my painting and then I only look up for like half a second and I miss everything. Whereas our format, the images will be still, so they will stay on screen a lot longer. So you'll have a bit more of an opportunity to actually take a look at the action and obviously listen to us gabble about it, basically.
Yeah.
So, in theory, it will be quite a nice format for those of you who want to sit and paint and listen to us jabber on about toy soldiers.
Although you do have to look up at it occasionally if you are watching it, if only for the wonderful effects that have been implemented into it. And that's not even saying it as a joke. They add just the cherry
So
on
good.
top of that.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, so I've tried to push the concept a little bit, because obviously we have got a slightly different format to the way White Dwarf does it, so I have tried to apply effects where I can and stuff like that. So hopefully we've got a nice little hybrid format. Where you don't have to read it, but you don't have to constantly watch it either.
The audiobook of Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have we all been working on in the time that we've been away? Well, I'll get my bit out of the way, because let's be honest, it's gonna be you. Yeah.
The bulk.
Everything is what you've been working on.
Basically, yes, everything. Since last time I was actually on a podcast, I think I've actually painted an entire nearly 4,000 point army.
Painted, but I think you also need to add the word repainted into some of those as well.
Repainted several things as well. Yeah.
He did it again.
Hey, I've got more armies for the challenge.
That is true.
And they are beautiful, and the concept is excellent.
Yeah, so there are lots of armies now that we've got access to for Legions, which is fantastic. We've got lots to play with, and many more on the way. Terrain projects are being worked on behind the scenes. I haven't put anything new on the table yet, but I've got lots of little projects on the go and plans, which also ties in nicely to some 3D printed assets that I'm working on, which I also intend to release for sale as well. So there will be an official Mead Hall 3D space you can go and purchase things that I will link in the description when it is available. Okay, and there will be various assets that will be made available, some of which you will see in the coming episodes.
Or if you've watched any of like the TikTok or Instagram content that we have, I've been posting them on there for like the past 6 months, so you would have seen them at some point.
Or hopefully will.
Yeah.
Aggressively posting.
So that's it from my side of things. Anything hobby-wise? I mean, technically that also counts for elves, because I painted their entire army.
I also built my kill team.
You did, actually.
My Nemesis Claw kill team.
Built your first ever kit.
I did, and it was like really hard actually. And I also built my my super heavies for Legions, which Jamie is going to paint for me, because I'm not at the painting bit yet. I think I'm quite good at the building stuff. We've been going to like mini of the month for, I think we worked out for 6 months straight now. Something like that. We've been pretty good at going to them.
Been very consistent.
And like I'm like where I'm sat now, like on the Hobbit desk, there's like a whole line of just like all of the models that we've taken home from our mini of the month. And some of them have already been like primed and stuff ready for me to have a go at them. But he's insistent that he wants to teach me properly, and just with like everything going on, trying to find like an hour just to like sit down together, especially like when we have like a screaming child that always wants food, it's just kind of like, yeah, maybe not now. We'll do it later, but then later never comes. So
just bodge it together, you know. Just throw some paint on there. It's fine.
But yeah, so that's my hobby. But I haven't managed to read any more of my Black Library collection, even though there's so many. I haven't even finished the Night Lords Omnibus, which is almost like sacrilege at this point, seeing as they've been my number one army for like a year. So love myself for that.
Speaking of Black Library, I finished The Lions Under the Forest.
Good book.
Very good book. I then went and bought a lion, and then mostly built and painted a lion.
GW are very good, aren't they? Release a book, get them to buy a model, easy.
Very good. And then I was like, oh, there's this other Dark Angels books. Let's go listen to one of those. So I listened to another one, and I'm like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So that was the Black Library listenings, predominantly. And then, in terms of hobbying, I came up with a wonderful solution. I took my problem of things being painted and I pushed it over to Jamie.
I did that.
Yeah. So what you'll probably find is almost every army in this channel is going to be painted by me.
Yeah.
But
Maybe.
I have instead, in return, picked up Jamie stuff because I think I definitely prefer painting in a 28mm scale. So I will be doing stuff that we will be looking at from a 28mm scale. At the moment, I have a pile of Esches that are in the state ready for their speed painting. It's just trying to find literally any free time. And apparently this run up to Easter has just been what if every weekend was full of stuff. But I did manage to get a kill team painted in a very short period of time, just through Slapchop and speed paints, which was excellent. And I'm sure I will throw them up on the channel because I've been very proud of them. And it made me realize just how fun orcs are to paint.
I'd be interested in trying that at some point.
And then, and this might be a topic we get onto, it looks like there might be some more orcs in the pipeline.
Orc content, you say?
Orc content, I say. I've just got a hint that maybe at some point we might be talking about some orcs down the line.
No, it's orcs on the agenda. I don't know. We'll have to look later. won't we?
We'll have to look later. So yes, it has been I think moving towards like the small kind of skirmishing games rather than trying to do the tiny toy painting. Although having those kind of out of the brain space, I've now been queuing up the Titans to add another roster of Titans into our Legions games.
Yes, please.
So we can have even more Titan showdowns.
I want more Titans every day.
He keeps trying to convince me, and every time I'm just like, no.
We've got a plan. We've got a plan, and that game will come, and it will be very entertaining.
Oh yes, but we won't say anything just in case it doesn't happen for a while.
Yeah, it's probably for the best.
Joe?
So I have made absolutely zero progress on Legions things. I think similarly to John's painting issue, I think I am going to start doing Legions through plastic kits because I don't like printing small, the tiny models. And then we'll see if I like painting them, which we'll see.
I mean, there are some slightly larger models you can get.
But yeah.
So,
just do all the crawlers, no infantry.
All crawlers, you can do a knight army,
Tanks.
It's true.
There are options for those who don't want to paint the really tiny stuff.
But I do now have, as of what is currently printing, 1,000 points of Sisters of Battle.
At 28mm scale.
At 28mm scale, yeah.
Nice.
Almost all painted, apart from the stuff that's still printing.
Nice.
That does impress me, because I know it takes forever for you to paint anything.
Yeah.
Wait a second. We've been here before. How many paints?
Actually, 3 different paint schemes.
Again, how many paints are in each paint scheme?
Starting to steal my thunder there.
So one of the schemes is blue and white, with a little bit of silver for like weapons and things. One of the schemes is blue and silver, with little detail bits, and the schemes for sergeants and characters are silver, blue, and gold.
So 4 paints.
Max 4 paint per colour scheme.
With details.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was this is coming from the place of the Xenomorph Tyranid army, like, and everything being in 3 paints. So I'm sure there's a great degree of variety amongst those paints on the models.
Yeah, like any guns that do fire are red. and any regular guns are grey, and there's leather bits.
Yeah, okay. There you see, that's what we mean. There's the details.
Lenses on the helmets. They're red also.
I seriously want you to just one day just do an army that's literally just stone. It's just one colour and a dry brush.
Yeah.
I have seen an amazing somebody did a Custodes army that was like made to look like they were like ancient rock, and it was like probably like mossy like rock kind of like showing through.
Oh yeah, you can do that style really well. I'm just about Joe just literally dry brushing it after a battle can.
Maybe I'll do like the Sigmar, and then do the what's the main faction? I'm blanking on the name.
The
Stormcast.
Stormcast Eternus.
Stormcast, yeah. Stormcast, and just dry brush them rock.
No. Even easier than that. You go to like the range and you get one of the rattle cans that is like stone texture. And just spray them with that, and that's it. Job's done.
Done.
Instant army. Do them as the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. They're just stone Bone Reapers.
Mm-hmm.
Instant army.
Or just dry brush over grey plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't think that'd work very well, but it'd be funny.
It would be funny. Beautiful. Immediately derails.
Hey, no, it was more or less on point. We're fine.
More or less on point.
More or less.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anything else?
Yeah. My partner wants a Demonettes army, specifically Demons of Slanesh. So I have about 830 points of those, also printed, not painted.
In fairness, demons are very nice and easy to paint generally.
Yeah. I painted the Shalaxi Hellbane proxy.
Nice.
So the centerpiece model is done.
I've got a load of, and I mean a load of 8mm printed demons to do.
Nice.
Oh,
I have
there's
lots.
so many, and they're so tiny.
I feel like the solution for them, if it's like bloodletters, you just get like a little like tub of paint and just drop them in and just shake it and then just take them out one by one.
I mean,
Chinese barbecue sauce.
I mean, in fairness, my goal probably is to literally just slap contrast on them and almost be done.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to say, like, you joke, Joe, about like sweet and sour or barbecue sauce. I legitimately watched somebody, and they have now done multiple videos in which they are painting Marines using Vegemite.
Honestly, that's
gonna reek.
that is not the worst I've heard.
But they so basically they did like an Imperial Fist, and then they used it like an oil wash.
Oh.
Because it reactivates with water, so they were like they were just testing it, and they're like, so it's Heresy for Heretics is the channel where the person who's doing this, and like if in like several months' time it's not penicillin, maybe we'll try doing some other stuff with it.
Fair enough.
That does remind me of at least I know 2 stories where people painted or converted with some very interesting materials.
Yeah, you told me about some Death Guard that used like a proper real crab claw.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was the other Death Guard story, and I was going.
Oh, there is the other Death Guard story.
Talk about the other Death Guard story.
That's what I've got. There is one with a Death Guard army that used they wanted like a nautical theme, so the Great Unclean One had a claw, and they used a genuine crab's claw, which stank apparently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta clean.
There's another one where I don't know where I got the story from, but someone wanted to paint their Khorne army with real blood. Their own blood.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
The only blood you're allowed to use generally.
That is a choice.
It's
a choice.
It's a choice.
That's
It's an interesting choice.
Cool. Right. Well, that was an interesting little catch up on everything that has been going on. We've been away for a while. Shall we actually crack on and look at some stuff now?
Yeah, let's look at some
Go for it.
stuff.
So, the way Tankard Talk is going to work now, essentially, because obviously prior to this, Tankard Talk was just like a bit at the beginning of episodes that ended up being huge, mainly because me and John don't shut up. So we had to turn it into an entire episode. We get this preamble, we're going to do a little showcase section, and then at the end we're going to talk about some hobby news and stuff like that, which sounds like we've timed that rather well, but we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
So first, we're going to do a little showcase. So we will see you in the showcase. And here we are. We're in our display zone. You can see my unfiltered background there.
Help! Sorry, I couldn't resist.
So, today we are going to be having a little look at an entire army that will be featured on the channel. One that was lovingly painted, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't mine.
Yeah, alright. Jesus, get
That it was painted with love, clearly.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
It is a gift.
So if you haven't already guessed, we are talking about Elsa's army, and we have got an entire army of Night Lords to have a look at.
my babies! My babies!
So this has been... I don't know how long that actually took me, but condensed down probably only like a few weeks worth of actual work. And crank that
Less time than it should.
less time than it probably should, yeah. So that is, I mean, technically that's not the full army on screen at the moment. There is a little bit more to it, which is mostly drop pods, but they didn't look as cool. So there is a picture of them in it in a minute. You'll see the whole scope, but this is the meat of the army.
My babies.
They are good drop pods, I will say.
Drop pods. There you go, nice top down there. So we've got a nice mix. We've got a nice mix of things here. Really, obviously we've got lots of vehicles, plenty of infantry. Although we do feel like there might be more infantry in the future.
Yes, I would like to get some more tiny men to do some running around for me, just for like secondaries and objectives and stuff, because they're really good just to hop on, like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a surprisingly mechanical Night Lord's army.
Yeah,
Mechanized Night Lord's army. That was the word I wanted, not mechanical.
I will
Yeah.
mention like a little bit of the snippet of my lore later on, but it definitely is very it's very lore pushed, kind of like the reason why there is a lot of tanks and stuff. The one thing I knew when Jamie was like, oh, you could have your own army, I was like, I want tanks. Like, I want a lot of tanks. I want like tanks to be like rolling up the battlefield in this like Night Lord's blue color, and I want them to be terrifying. So that was like my whole vision at the beginning, to be honest.
So you've taken what might be considered a strange turn in traditional lore-based armies, because obviously a lot of people will look at a specific legion and say, right, they do this thing, they do that thing. All World Eaters must just run at the enemy and smash face. All Iron Warriors armies must feature only vehicles and dreadnoughts. All Blood Angels armies must jump from the skies with jump packs, and that's it. You've gone, Night Lords. I want tanks.
Yeah, basically.
I don't care about all of the funky Night Lords jumping around shenanigans. I want big tanks.
I do have that. I do have.
You do have it, but that's not the identity of your legion within the Night Lords.
Not really.
Their terror tactics are through explosions.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's sort of the right line, yeah.
So yeah, you've definitely gone for a slightly different approach for the Night Lords, but does it work? I'd say so. It looks cool.
It does look cool.
It plays well enough on the tabletop as well.
Not when I use them. I'm terrible at keeping them alive.
Or when I use them. Hold on. Wait a second. You think lied to?
No, I mean when I use them, not when you use them.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yes, that will be featured soon.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, you got a definitely a different style of Legion here, which, or say different to what you might expect from a Night Lord's army, which again is quite cool, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely an entirely different approach. There you go as well. There's all the drop pods stacked at the back.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that just puts into scope how long that took to paint.
Yeah.
And do you know what? One of the longest things to paint in all of that was those bloody drop pods.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, it honestly is. They were one of the longest things for me to paint.
What made them take so much longer to paint compared to the rest?
Well, because they're particularly the way I've done these ones, or the style of them anyway. They're almost equally two different colours, silver and blue. So immediately I can only spray on one colour, which means I've got to go over with another colour, almost 50% of the model. And then on top of that, you've got all the red on those fins. There are 6 fins per infantry drop pod, and it's a 2-coat job. There's about 20 infantry drop pods.
I suppose when they go in as well, they have a lot more surface area than the rest of the...
It honestly, they just took ages. They were the one kit I would honestly say I will not want to do again. I did, obviously, because I had to load to one of my armies, which was even worse.
annoyingly useful.
So much worse doing my own ones. Spoiler alert, I did Emperor's Children ones. There was a lot of white on my ones. The white took 3 coats. I hated myself so much.
He was growling down at them. It was...
But anyway, so yeah, ironically, the drop pods took the longest time. Like the mastodons there, those big tanks there, I think took me 3 hours, start to finish.
I was very surprised, actually.
I think I was painting something of my own, and I just thought, I'll quickly spray them up as well. I painted them by the end of the night. So why don't we actually take a look at the individual units then, and actually sort of have a quick gander.
Yeah.
We can talk about bits and pieces as we go. We don't have to cover everything. We don't have to chat about everything, unless you want to talk about everything. We'll see.
Let's go.
So, we got Book of Infantry. This is basically the equivalent of 2 Legiones Astartes infantry boxes. Just obviously the tacticals, the rest will come. So you get 8 stands per box. This is 16 stands of basic infantry. Personally, I thought these were really easy to paint, to be honest. Time consuming, because there's lots of little ones, but really easy. They're not laborious in any way, shape, or form. Certainly not the way I paint them, anyway.
No.
I'll give you a close-up there, look.
I love my little banner guy on them. Really cool.
Little spots of colour.
I like the little banner guy.
Yeah. It doesn't show up perfectly well in that picture, but that little banner is actually skin tone.
There's a couple of those across the army, different bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Skin banner.
I really like the way that you have done the bases now,
Yeah, I like it as well.
which is potentially something I might need to steal if I do anything else in the future.
I would. One of the reasons I changed my army is just so that I didn't have to rebase everything.
Yeah.
Because the way I'd done the bases previously on my auxiliary and stuff like that, they look amazing, but they're so time consuming. I don't have time for time consuming, so this new method of just whacking your stuff on and gluing them on so much easier.
So you put the stuff on first, and then you're gluing the models on top of it.
Makes life so much quicker, so much easier. Yes, they are technically more brittle, but my argument to that would be, well, if I do drop them and they snap off at that weak point, I'm not damaging the plastic, and easy enough to repair as well. Really easy to repair. I haven't actually had one of these pop off. I did have something pop off. It was really easy. I just glued the feet back into place, and then I think there was a tiny bit of the texture paste that was missing, so I literally just grabbed a little bit and topped it up. Easy.
Which texture paste is that one?
In answer to John's question, AKA's Dark Earth, which is flipped, I think, on that camera, which is a shame. But Yeah, AK Dark Earth is what's on those. Yeah, literally just slap that on the base, let it dry, glue the models on top.
It stinks, but it's good stuff. Like when you open the top of the pot, it does honk a bit, but
Sounds like pain to me.
This is where you're the only one that's not been massively desensitized to the smell of paint.
So yeah, that's the infantry. So yeah, we got skin banners, and we've got my new basing method being used there. Yeah,
Very nice.
Gonna have to have a look into AK's texture collection.
Yeah, because I also used AK for my army as well, but I think they use their asphalt.
Yeah, terrain's asphalt. Yep. I can see it there.
So yeah, so if anyone is interested in how to paint these the way I paint them as well, stay tuned. So, moving on. So we're going to continue on with the infantry. So we've got some plasma guns. You'll never guess it. It's pretty much the same, but just a slightly different colour on the gun.
And a good bit of glow.
A big glow.
they stand out really well. These ones, I like them a lot.
Yeah, they do work They work surprisingly well with the blue on blue. It does actually still stand out quite nicely, which is the only thing I was slightly concerned about. But in my head, I keep thinking, I know in lore-wise, the plasma guns are blue. So I ended up doing the blue. But obviously I know some people like to use other colours, particularly if they think it's going to clash, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But in my head I was like, I wanted to try it, and it seemed to work, so it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good contrast between the two of them. I was going to say, I feel like a lot of people do the Chaos plasma guns in like that orange kind of glow.
Which is exactly what I did on one of my Alpha Legion Kill Teams models. The plasma gun on that is orange. So we've also got some missiles. Guess what? Same principle.
Nice.
Yeah, not too different. Although I think you can spot on these guys just a little bit. There's a model there, sort of the second one in the middle. Just on his leg there, you can see like a little bit of white.
Oh yeah.
That's just a little. I mean, it's not very well done.
It's a lightning bolt.
It's a little lightning bolt on the knee pad there. I did not, and I refused to lightning bolt every model. So I actually took a leaf out of John's book from something you did. I did one on every base that had a little lightning bolt.
Yeah, that's the sensible approach to it.
Yeah.
I learned from the initial madness of hazard stripes.
Yeah.
And that way does lie madness.
Oh, I feel sorry for all those Iron Warriors players. Okay.
Holding my tongue.
Assault Marines.
I was gonna say I don't feel sorry for them in a good way, as opposed to I don't feel sorry for them because I detest Iron Warriors players. I just want to put that out there.
That's fair. Yeah.
There you go. You can see on these ones where he's put the lightning bolts a little bit more clearer on the two.
So there's a couple of shoulder pads. I think they got lightning bolts on the shoulder pads this time.
I always forget these guys exist when we're playing games. Like I know they're there, but it ends up like a turn 3 and they've done nothing. And I'm like, oh yeah, you exist. Okay, I guess I'll charge you into something now, and then they die.
I found that they are quite good at like holding back somewhere. If you don't have somewhere for them to go, just holding back and being like they are a threat at the position that they're at, just to use them when you need them.
Yeah, they're not a bad little counter-charge unit, and because they're faster than obviously most infantry, they're quite useful in that regard. Speaking of mobility, though, these guys.
Oof.
Oh. Chunky lads.
These little cataphracti terminators. Whoa, these were painful to paint.
I bet.
Because they've got a lot of details, lots of little gold banding and all the protrusions, and I don't know if the shoulder ones are called protrusions as well. But anyway, lots of leather tassels, bits of weapons everywhere. Bit of red on here. I think some of them might have a lightning bolt here and there as well. I tried to stick in. Oh, there's so many details on these models. They did take a long time to make. I did resent painting these guys.
That's fair enough.
Thankfully, there's only 4 bases of them. That's not true of another unit that's going to come up later. But I have to say, Cataphractine Night Lord's colours, even at this scale, look pretty badass.
Yeah, I do like these a lot. They're...
We also have Dreadnoughts.
These ones have got little transfers on the front of them, which I really like.
Yeah. So one thing you might notice as well, there's a slightly different tonal shift in the armour. So if I go back to here, you've got, it's quite a bright blue. This has got a bit of a metallic blue. That's because they were both done with contrast paint, but one had a metal undercoat, one had a grey sear.
Nice.
Which is a smart way of doing it.
So you get the two different tones, which I have done a lot actually over Legions, but I actually didn't do that with my new armies. Actually, I kept them all uniform, I think, if I remember right.
I do love doing the contrast over metallics.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful use of them.
Yeah, it creates a different effect. I've been playing around with that.
Yeah,
it works really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And I have discovered how to use them nicely through an airbrush now, which makes life so much easier.
Oh, very nice.
But yeah, so eight little dreadnoughts.
2 different guns.
2 different guns. I personally love the dreadnought models, even though they're the Contemptors, which arguably are the least interesting of the dreadnoughts. I still really enjoy them.
I have to say, I was a Contemptor hater, but I have very much come around to a Contemptor dreadnought. I think I
like them. There are other dreadnoughts that you can get in Legions that I think are so much better.
I think the Derridea is my favourite.
Derridea is a nice one. I am all Saturnine now. I love it. I am definitely on the Marmite side, and I love them.
They're very fun.
A nightmare to paint, but lovely.
One day, is it the Castaphraeum pattern?
The Castaphraeum, what the Moctonal?
Yeah, the Castaphraeum. One day I'll get my Castaphraeum back.
Yeah, well, you can have that. I'm not putting that in my army.
They'll disappear amongst the scenery because there'll be little boxes that you won't know they were there. You'll think it's just part of the scenery.
Scenery? What are you on about? They're Minotaur armored containers with legs.
Perfect. They're perfect. Flawless models they are.
Oh, no. Okay, so we now have the commanders.
Ooh.
Very nice.
Now, these are only half the commanders in terms of how many I could make out of the boxes. Because you actually get 2 commander stands per box, which is quite generous, actually. It's generous in one way, almost silly in another, because you can never really take that many. Or it's very difficult to take that many. I haven't used all of them yet because I've got plans. You'll see on the left there that I've got a different commander model.
Yeah.
Compared to one on the right. So the one on the right is the plastic kit. Or the plastic commander. The one on the left is actually a 3D print. So it is a custom commander model that was... I won't name who it was from, maybe I don't remember. But I did digibas it a little bit and actually add on like a Night Lord's helmet with the wings on it.
Per my request.
So he is a little bit more Night Lordy. In fact, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that cape is not supposed to be skin, but it's now skin.
Yep.
A bit like those
like the banners behind them.
big banners behind, yeah. So we got some very Night Lord appropriate models there.
Yeah, he's I still have yet to name him, but he is a character that from my personal lore, that goes with the army, which was why I wanted Jamie to put him on a commander base for me rather than the bog standard. He needs a name because the name I had, I didn't realise was already a name of a Blood Angels Marine in one of the animations, so I had to put that on the back burner for a little while I figure it out.
Best of times. So I believe that is all the infantry now. So we're going to go a little bit bigger in scale. So nice close-up of the infamous drop pods.
They do look good. Though.
I actually have too many of these, so I can't actually use all of them because I don't have enough infantry.
I'm gonna point out, because I'm sure someone will probably notice somehow, because I think they look very similar, but there are differences. These are not the official GW drop pods. These were actually cobbled together out of various drop pod STL files I found, and I then pulled them all apart, mixed them together, and created a multi-part resin kit, basically. Took a little bit of effort, but I found all the bits that I wanted that looked good. Like, all the models I found, there was something wrong with all of them, and in the end I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to take these and cut and shut them. So I was able to digitally rejig all the parts to make these drop pods. And there's even a little hole in the bottom to put a magnet in. It's very handy for transport.
Very. Because they tend to skid about a bit because they're so thin on the bottom.
Indeed. Likewise, Dreadnought drop pods were the exact same problem. I could not find a suitable file that I wanted to use, so I had to make it. The actual fins on this one, in fact, all of it apart from the doors, because I found new doors to make the drop pod doors, but the actual body is made from the same kit I used to make the infantry pods, or the same kit anyway. The same base. I took that same infantry base and used that and rejigged all the geometry basically to bulk them out so it would look better.
Nice.
And actually created the drop pod main body from the infantry pods.
Yeah, they look really good.
So yeah, I had a little bit of fun doing a bit of 3D modelling there. That was quite fun. Now, the reason I've done this as well, so I generally will use plastic GW kits because they are phenomenal. They're really good. They're nice, easy to work with. However, I refuse to pay the amount of money they ask for these drop pods.
No, it's a little
They charge a lot of money for not many drop pods.
Especially when you need so many of them.
If you want to, yeah. They're worth very little in terms of point per pound as well. It's really, really, really low.
Yeah, kind of a drop and they're done kind of thing.
So I drew. That's why I drew my line. So they're getting printed. I'm sorry, GW. Your kit, your drop pod kits do look amazing. They're too expensive. Bottom line, too expensive. So they are fully 3D printed.
I mean, to be honest, most of this army is GW plastic anyway.
Yes, the vast majority.
There is a small portion that is 3D printed, so it's not like, an 80-20. It's more or less a 60-40, I would say.
I mean, I personally just like using the kits. I've got no problem with the 3D printed armies. I know you two have got plenty of 3D printed models in your armies. In fact, quite a lot of my new army will feature a lot of 3D printed components, but they will be interlaced with a lot of GW kits. In fact, if there's a GW kit that exists for what I want, I use it, but if there isn't, I will print it.
Best of both worlds, really.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a reason why your new stuff is going to be all printed.
Yeah, that's because they don't...
Almost all printed,
because a lot of them don't exist as GW kits.
Not yet.
But yes, I do have a very fun project that is completely GW. But I won't... We'll tease that later. We'll tease that later. I like teasers. But anyway, let's press on. We're not talking about my stuff, we're talking about the Night Lords. So we're going to get into some more interesting stuff now. I consider more interesting. These are the Vindicators.
They're so cute, but they die every single game.
They are a lovely little kit, honestly. I love painting them. They're great fun, nice and easy. They look cool. They do genuinely scare me though in game, so every time anyone put them on the table, I just take them out immediately.
Both me and John so far have suffered this. And it's heartbreaking because their gun is so strong, but it's short range. so you have to push them up before you can shoot them. But then the problem is, you shoot them up, Jamie goes, ah! And then, boom, they're gone, that's it. And then they're through then.
My counter-argument is that, though, obviously. I'm going to focus them, so you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, but we don't know how to use things to our advantage.
Well, that's not on me, then, is it?
We know there are distraction card effects, but they still hurt when they explode.
It's just sometimes nice to get to use the distraction card effects.
Yeah. I didn't know it was a distraction card effects. I just wanted the card effects.
Maybe one day I'll purposely not target them just to see what they do.
You did that before, and then they still died.
It's not my fault. I literally said, like, I won't target them for 2 turns. They did nothing with them for 2 turns. That's not my fault.
They were too far away.
That's on you at that point.
Yeah, that is, yeah, you are to blame in that scenario there.
But the poor Vindicators haven't actually fired a shot, I don't think, but they have looked very cool on the table.
They have.
So, we now have the Land Raiders.
I love these. I love these little lads.
Very nice.
I love these.
Land Raider Proteus, isn't it? Isn't that the model?
Yes. Land Raider Proteus, I think, is the pattern. Yeah, with their little twin las cannons.
I definitely prefer Land Raiders over Rhinos, I think, for, like, as far as, like, transport goes.
Rhinos have their place.
Yeah. Right, rhinos are like a set and forget. You're just like, okay, I'm gonna get something to a location, and then these rhinos are just gonna go harass stuff. They're just gonna go be a problem somewhere.
Yeah, so you can use.
Well, eventually there'll be terrain.
You can use rhinos quite interestingly as like blockers and just a nuisance. Whereas Land Raiders, there is an investment there. You don't want to throw them away, so to speak. But they're also tough anyway. They are quite hard nuts to crack.
And surprisingly good at shooting.
Surprisingly good at shooting when you roll like you do sometimes. That was a compliment.
Yeah.
You make it sound like it.
No, that was just from a place of watching things explode from incredibly lucky 6s.
Yeah, that's what you're hearing there. Is that little bit of salt in the back of my throat?
Bitterness.
There's a touch of salt that I will come up.
Oh yes, it will.
We'll get there.
Predators.
My little terrors, as I like to call them.
Honestly,
Nice.
I really like them.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favourite paint jobs of yours, to be honest. This is number 3 out of my top 3, I think.
I mean, just the models alone, particularly the Damios pattern Heresy Predator, just looks great. I don't know what it is about that curved turret. It just looks right.
Yeah, it works very well.
Like the 40k version of it, I don't know what the pattern's called.
Mars
pattern. Oh, is it Mars pattern? Yeah, I've never really gelled with it. I've never really cared for it. But something about the Damios pattern I really like.
The Demos pattern is as much as I love the Mars pattern, it is a box.
It is a box.
It's like the quintessential sort of like take a sort of real tank and make it futury with the domes and stuff like.
It's probably a fair point, well made there actually. Yeah, no, I don't know. I like this pattern, and these were an absolute breeze to paint. Again, I think I sat down in about 3 hours and painted the whole sets. They're so easy to do. Well, again, the way I do them, I make them easy. You can probably do them a lot better, but the way that I'd like to do them, they're nice and quick, nice and easy. You can bash these out in no time.
They're battle ready and they look good.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Exactly. They look good in photos.
Yeah, that's all they need to. They look good that close, and you're going to be seeing them from much further away on the table. So I would count that as a win.
Yeah, we're quite unique actually because we will photograph ours close up all the time, whereas most of the time you won't bother. Again, another tank variant I love, Sakaran.
They've got two different types of guns on at the moment. So the ones on the left are the Mega Plasmas. Nope. Which way round?
Well, if the ones on the left... Wait, did you say left or right?
left.
Yeah, if the ones on the left aren't the plasma.
They have Skyfire, I don't know what they're called. That's the only reason I know that they have Skyfire is because I made sure they had Skyfire because Jamie has a Stormbird. So that's why they have them on there at the moment.
Yeah, so the ones on the left have accelerator autocannons.
That's what it's called. And then the other ones have got Omega Plasmas.
The autocannons are my preferred loadout aesthetically.
I like both of them, to be fair. I find it quite handy to have the different two types of guns because I normally separate them into two different attachments anyway. And I like having the two different types of guns because then I can send both attachments to either side of the table to do certain jobs and stuff, especially if there's something scary that I want to get rid of.
Definitely practically both variants good, but like I just love the autocannon and stuff.
Oh yeah, the autocannons are great.
The autocannons are very good fun. I really like just the overall aesthetic of the Sicarian tanks. I think they're very cool. They've got kind of like a H tank vibe, and especially with that paint job, I know like the viewing thing is just above, but like that red like stripe just gives peak kind of, just like that's the cockpit kind of vibe. The only problem, and it is one minor problem, and I think it's just a me problem. I want those plasmas rotated by 90.
Oh.
I don't know what it is. I just wish the plasma guns, rather than being flat, were just like.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels a bit like you're like side shooting.
Conversation before, and I actually really like them like that. I prefer that style, mainly because you can see both sets of coils nice and easily.
Yeah, I did.
And also, in putting my two pieces in for the which gun's better, I definitely prefer the plasmas. I just love the look of them. I've got a massive thing for plasma guns. I think they look awesome.
The plasma guns are cool.
Yeah. So, and again, they were really nice and easy to paint as well.
They explode just as easily on the table as well.
Oh yeah. Just as easy. So going up a scale again, we got the Kratos.
This one's got a tank commander. If you can see his little head poking up on the top there.
Now, I've got two interesting points about the Kratos. One is that I think they're a very cool blend between a Predator and a Sicarian, because like the Deimos pattern as well, because the chassis is like an enlarged Sicarian, but the turret is like the Deimos Predator.
Oh yeah.
Which I noticed a while back when I was painting them up. I thought, oh, this feels familiar. They almost look like a blend between the two. The other thing was, these were a nightmare, I think, if I remember right, for me to figure out where I was going to put the transfers.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was going to put them on the side, but I couldn't find a place where I was happy with them. So
I really like them on the front, though.
In the end, I ended up putting two little ones on the front just above the tracks. So, it just took me a little while to figure out where I wanted them. Up again, I believe, we are the Mighty Mastodon.
Yeah.
This is number 2 of my top 3, by the way. They are monstrous. I love them so much.
When they announced these were coming out for Legions, I just turned to you and said, "You're getting Mastodons."
Well, because if I remember rightly, I think we were at Warhammer World, and he goes to me, I want to get you a box of Mastodons. Because I think it was around my birthday, wasn't it, as well? And he was like, I want to get you a box of Mastodons. And I was like, okay, what are their guns like? He was like, oh, I don't know, but they're probably good. I just want to paint them. So I was like, okay, but didn't you just complain that you've been non-stop painting all my stuff and you want to move on to your own? And he's like, yeah, forget about that. I want to do this first. So I was like, okay, fine. You can do that. That's not a problem.
And I'm not
Sounds like a win.
When I finished painting them, they were the final catalyst for me to pull the trigger on the new army, because I was like, I want these now for myself.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous.
They're really, really good. In the couple of times that I've used them, like as in used their guns, they're really good in play as well. But I mostly use them to get my special units up the board, which you'll see shortly. But I love them a lot. They're my favourite, and I always get a little bit upset when they end up dead.
Very cool models. Highly recommend.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no, they are very cool models. They're the ones up.
Just to, do you know why I love them so much? Or at least I think I know why I love them so much. Because they remind me of the massive truck thing in Halo.
Oh,
That's
a good shout.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called in Halo. Yeah, nope. John's going to go and look it up online.
I can picture it in my head.
I played that map so many times.
Because, yeah, it only featured in the one multiplayer map in Halo 3, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. I do believe they actually did end up using it in a campaign mission in one of the newer ones by 343. That's where it came from, that one map. And I don't know why, I always loved it. I always trying to get the team onto it to use it.
The Elephant.
Oh, is it just called the Elephant? Is it?
It's just called the Elephant. However, I'm not saying I'm going on a tangent here, but
He's going on tangent.
Tangent time.
In the process of finding out that the vehicle it reminds you of is potentially called the Elephant, from the multiplayer level Sand Trap. Listed in amongst the other vehicles is the armored personnel carrier known as the Mastodon, which doesn't look like that Mastodon, but it is funny that they look the same.
So yeah, I think that's where my love for that comes from. It's a bit of nostalgia almost. I like the idea of that, just smashing through a wall, those doors opening up.
Yeah.
It's not even the fact that it smashes through the wall. It rolls up, fires a melter array, melts the wall, and then opens the doors.
Yeah, it's just an image that just works.
Like the Kool-Aid Man?
It's like if the Kool-Aid Man shot lava instead.
Oh, no.
Just rolls up to a door and just melts it off.
We're going to go a little bit away from Night Lords, kind of, for the next couple of shots. We have a Night House that has joined the Night Lords, kind of. Here we've got a couple of the little armatures. If they were in 40k, I believe these ones would be referred to as Warglaives if they were loyalists.
Yeah.
So you got your choppy with your melter.
You love them, don't you?
I love them.
He's in love.
They're very fun.
I mean,
I'm in love with them too for a completely different reason.
I think, as we know now, I've become a massive convert for big zombie robots.
Like, I will just briefly say the reason why they look kind of rusty is because in the lore they have been accosted. They have been brought into the Night Lords against their will. The armor on the machine has been like painted over badly. Basically, it's not doesn't look bad because Jamie's done a brilliant job, but in the lore, it looks badly because the Night Lords that are running them are this new generation of like unexperienced, kind of wacky, kind of just like all over the place, criminalized and all that sort of stuff. Everything that Conrad would not have wanted, basically. That's like the whole shtick with them, to be honest. So that's why they look kind of rusty, is because they've just been kind of rotting away in some warehouse somewhere, and then along comes my character that I've brought up, and he's kind of got them painted up, but he's going through like scrolls and stuff of what like the old like paint scheme used to be, like what they used to look like and stuff like that, and it's basically just a botched job.
No, I do like them, and I do like the scheme. And more.
Yeah, we have the ranged variant, which in rules terms now are actually really good.
Yeah, now they've changed the rules. They're very good.
When we initially had them, they felt very mediocre. But after they bought the Liber Strategia out, these things went from meh to ooh, hello.
Yeah, you gotta wake up with them.
Yeah, makes me want to put mine on the table then. Especially have 9 of them.
Yeah, you have a big block of yours. Yeah, I've only got 3 of each so far.
I had 9 of them because back before the Liber Strategia, you could take 9 in a unit. Now you can't.
Yeah, they used to be quite scary when there's 9 of them rocking up.
These are quite cool. However, I have to say my personal favourite models in this army, again, I'm biased, I like big stompy robots. Oh, the Sarastas Pattern Knights! And can I just say, not only do the Night Lord's colours look beautiful on Knights, but these were so fun to paint.
You had very.
I love painting these.
I remember he come into the living room after he'd finished like painting them initially, and he goes, "Are you sure you want me to put the rust paint on? They look so nice." And I'm like, "Yes, please." So he took photos of what they looked like. We should have done it before and after, really. He took photos of what they looked like before, and then he showed me side by side, because he finished one and then he showed me another one, and he showed me side by side what they looked like. And part of me was like, yes, this makes my lore like so good, like I love it. But then there was another part of me that was like, I'm so sorry, because they did look like genuinely just absolutely stunning. And then I asked him to ruin them.
It did break my heart just a little bit.
Yeah, they broke mine too.
Deliberately ruining, it's controlled ruining of them.
Yeah, it's ruining for the purposes of aesthetic.
Yeah, I tried to keep it off the bits that I was rather proud of. But yeah.
Let's say it's like ripped jeans.
Yeah.
The lightning bolts on these big ones are amazing. It's probably my favourite bit about them. It stands out so well.
I had done so many lightning bolts by this point. I had actually got kind of better. I had got better at it. These are much cleaner than all the others I'd done on the rest of the army, which
very good.
Which thankfully was obviously on the big showy knights. I'm glad I didn't do these first.
Obviously, these ones are the ones with the swords, and I think this, out of the two pairs of them, these ones are probably my favourite to use on the table.
These are
models themselves.
These are my favourite knights, full stop. So the Castigator, Zoastus patterns.
I still think out of those patterns, the Lancer is my favourite, but that's because it's just like, what if we just didn't bother with gun?
The coolest. But the Castigator is my favourite.
That's fair.
I will happily admit the Lancer is cooler. I can't argue with that. The new one that they're coming out with looks very nice.
Oh, it does.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, we might mention it later. If not, go to the Warcom. I'm sure it'll be on there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's the Knights. We are gonna finally move on to one last little section for the Night Lords, which is where we've got some custom units, so to speak. So these are fully 3D printed assets. Okay?
Yeah.
So, first up, we have what you have defined as the Tankard Terminators.
Tankard, yeah. So these guys they were originally led by Sevatar, like during the Heresy. They bite, and they bite hard. So my main character, is the main character of my lore, his name is Atropos, and these guys are like his personal attack dogs, who like follow him around everywhere and like cause havoc with him and stuff. When Jamie was like, oh, maybe we can, get you some special units and stuff, I was like, I want these guys because they are like the elite of the elite. Like, I've got my normal Terminators, but these guys are the ones that pack that punch, and they're very fun on the tabletop. But I don't think they probably might have been fun for you to paint. No. Okay. No, they were not, apparently.
No, they weren't.
The Tartarus pattern armour, they're not Tartarus, they're
Cataphracti.
Cataphracti, yeah.
Cataphracti looks great, but painting them, certainly at this scale anyway, no.
Yeah.
I do not enjoy it at all. Other patterns of Terminators I've painted now, beautiful, easy. These guys, nightmare. Which I suppose is appropriate.
Yeah, very appropriate.
You terror.
It certainly did. I was so glad when they were done, because I said to you, I'm never painting these guys again. You get this one unit and you're done. Moving on, we got another special unit.
Yeah.
In some Night Lord jump packs, which are...
These are the Night Raptors. They are some spooky boys. What do I say? I mean, Jamie's paint job is amazing. They all have the bat-winged helmets, classic Night Lords helmets. They are awesome on the tabletop. They're probably my special mention. They're not my top one out of my top 3.
Just out of interest, John, you might know this. Are the Night Raptors from the Night Lords the progenitors of the Chaos Space Marine Raptors?
I don't think they are. I thought the thing with Chaos Raptors was they came from was it like the Raptor Project or something like that?
That's I know that for a fact isn't, because that's an Alpha Legion story.
Because that was the Raven Guard, wasn't it? There
To do with the Raven Guard thing, yeah, which has no actual relation to the Raptors.
I don't know. I know that. Yeah, I don't think it's actually ever specifically written anywhere in terms of that.
Just seemed that it would be coincidental, maybe.
It feels appropriate to be.
Cool little 3D printed models with cool helmets and chain glaives as well, which I was quite fond of.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
A couple of chain axes in there, which look quite hefty. So, we now move on to the final piece from the Night Lords for now.
For now.
Which is, of course, none other than the big man himself.
Oh, very nice.
A 8mm Conrad Kurz.
The one thing that I said to Jamie when we were making this army was, I want my own Conrad. He's amazing. I think you based him off his Heresy model, didn't you? Yeah, so that's why.
Yeah, paint scheme wise.
But he's on a little rock with some dead salamanders. Nope, they're Dark Angels. Yep. I went with the 2 that were green. Just the wrong green one first.
I mean, the clue was that a certain member of our team is,
I think that. Yeah,
Dark Angels.
Yeah, he's awesome. I can't believe I've got my own little 8mm 3D printed Primarch. It is honestly my favourite thing out of the entire army, and I've done really well so far to keep him alive when he is on the tabletop. I think, if I remember rightly, he's only died once since I've been playing him.
I think I've only taken him out.
And that was in turn 1. So when I tell you I'm not going to make that mistake again, I mean I'm not going to try and make that mistake again, because it was absolutely heartbreaking. I can't remember how, but I just remember being unbelievably upset with myself. So yes, my top priority when he is on the table is to protect him. I'm not going to do that again.
It's a great little model to paint, actually. Yeah, there's a lot of detail on him, which makes him quite difficult, but because he's just on his own, I didn't mind. Yeah.
Not so bad when it's one centerpiece.
Yeah, no, that's acceptable. That is.
A little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Again, he was another one though that I just painted while painting something else, because he's only the one model. He's relatively easy, so I was painting something else. And I just every now and then I'll just paint it a little bit here and there, and again did it in an evening. Nice little project, that one.
Yeah.
And I will say, he won't be the only product I do. So to round out this section, I think it would be nice to know just a couple of maybe ideas about where you want to take this next. Obviously, one thing that is very obvious that will be coming next is there is a couple of Glaive super heavy tanks, which are already, as you've already mentioned, been built and ready to go.
Yeah, I built them.
So they'll get painted up very soon, probably. Where would you like to go next once they're done?
Obviously, I want to add some more infantry, standard infantry. I think I'm going to get myself some Spartans, because obviously I know you've been using Spartans and they look very cool.
You're jealous of my Spartans.
I'm very jealous of your Spartans. I want to get a couple of those. I have been toying with the idea of doing some Chaos Krieg. It's been an idea for me for a while, and obviously having played Solar Auxiliary and stuff, I've been thinking about doing humans, but I wanted to integrate them into my Night Lords army, but I didn't want them to be just ordinary humans. I wanted to have a sick twist to them, because obviously I'm playing Night Lords, and I've been cooking up a little bit of lore to kind of work out how the Krieg could be turned to chaos. That is definitely the direction that I want to take next. Mostly as well because it will be an opportunity for me to paint, because Jamie has already stated that he will not paint them for me. He refuses because of the paint scheme, which is fine, because I think it'll I think it will give me an opportunity to go ahead and have that confidence to start painting stuff myself at this scale. So,
any final thoughts from you two? Because obviously you haven't got any investment in this army. So, any comments or thoughts or opinions?
I think they look cool. I love seeing an army with a nice cohesive kind of scheme that's kind of just ties them all together. Especially the auxiliary stuff in like the knights, like pulling those into there, and like, and they do look good in Night Lord's colours. Although a joke that I've sat on for the entire time that we've been going through these and being like, there's some nice crimson fists.
not far off, are they?
They are almost the same. Just the difference being is that the red wouldn't be on the shoulder; it would be on a single hand on every.
Yeah.
And that would be insane.
Not doing that.
It's simultaneously very easy and very difficult.
I was gonna say, if you ever turn around to me and say, "Oh, can you just paint me up a load of crimson fists?"
No.
No.
Go away.
No. Not happening.
No.
Absolutely not. It just looks. It all looks very nice. The thing I do love about Legions is seeing like the full army spread.
It was really like satisfying when we went, because we took loads of photos for them like yesterday. It was very satisfying just like seeing it all like laid out, and I like laid it out where I wanted it, like, and it was awesome just kind of seeing that whole flourish of it. So I get that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, behold my stuff.
Yeah, literally.
I can't wait for the episode where I just put everything I've painted in since I started on the table.
That is what we in the business would call a flex.
The biggest.
It will happen. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubt.
That is it in terms of our little showcase. It is probably worth mentioning at the end of this section is that our hope is that you guys will hopefully enjoy what we're doing, and we'd very much like to invite you to send your stuff in, and this section will hopefully evolve into sort of us being able to basically review and show off your work rather than ours, because ours will get featured in all sorts of other areas anyway. Obviously, if you decide that you really want to see us show off our stuff in this section as well, we will continue to do so, but generally I think it would be a nice format for you guys to actually have an opportunity to show your stuff off.
100%.
Let's see what you've done, and hopefully we will inspire each other in what we do. And I will also mention, we predominantly will be doing Legions on the channel. This section particularly will not be Legions singularly. It doesn't have to just be Legions, especially as the other two have already mentioned. They kind of prefer painting 28mm stuff, so when their sections come up, they will probably be a lot more 28mm rather than Legion scale. We won't be doing Legions for everything, but it is the main sort of focal point. That is the end of the section. We're going to now move on into hobby news.
See you there.
And we're back. So, hobby news. Lots of hobby news has been going on. We could potentially go back and look at the last 3, nearly 4 months of content, maybe, but we don't want to be here forever. And in our time, Adepticon was not that long ago. So that feels like a very good place to start our conversation. Hobby content that is relevant to everybody, hopefully as of the release of this video. Quick, and I mean quick, looking particularly at you, impression of the overall show.
I didn't actually end up getting a chance to watch the show.
Okay.
I looked at the release. I looked at the releases afterwards, and kind of took it from there. I think there probably could have been more shown off, but the highlights that I've seen look interesting. I have thoughts on a number of the bits.
Did you manage to watch it, Joe?
No, I didn't manage to catch the show, but I did again look at the reveals and the trailers and things.
I would say that Jamie and I made the effort to stay up, but we were already up because, I mean, I'm normally up at that time with baby anyway, and we had already been doing stuff. It was an interesting experience to watch it live streamed. They did it last time as well. They need to sort of be careful, like when it comes to like the technology and stuff. There was just like so many difficulties and stuff. I don't want to be mean, but it's just like, oh my goodness, it's just like sat there watching it, and then they're live as well, like with an audience in front of them, and it just must have been like just really awkward. But they got there in the end. But it was.
I heard there was audio issues.
I heard some of the audio.
It was all of the issues.
There were a lot of issues with the live show. There has always been, as far as I can tell, at least from the last year when I've been watching them, there are always problems with their technical stuff when they're doing these live shows. And that does, to me, in my mind, I think personally they should just scrap the whole live thing and just do a recording. It doesn't work. I get why they kind of want to do it, but they don't. They don't hit their mark at all. I don't think there's been a single one where they've managed it.
The thing is, if you're going to live stream it anyway, you might as well just record the entire thing as is and then just release it as soon as it's finished.
There is that.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I don't know if... I know Els probably definitely hasn't. I don't know if John or Joe has done it, but I have been to one of their live reveals.
Did
you go to the one at Warhammer Fest?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, seeing it live didn't do much for me, to be honest. I've got to be honest. So, do they need to do a live in front of an audience? Not really. That's. I don't want to. I don't. This channel in these podcasts are not here to be negative, but constructive criticism. GW. I'd scrap live. I'd scrap audience. I would just do a recording and do your reveals because it just works better. Fair enough. You can do your big. You could reveal it to an audience with a big screen and all that lot, but just do it all pre-recorded. Why take the risk when clearly it's something you're not really nailing? And I don't think it adds a lot of value.
You could even release it at the same time, like if you did a pre-recorded thing, not in front of an audience, and then you just release it at the same time as you do the live show.
Yeah.
It would make sense if they were doing it as like a Q&A, and that Q&A was included, but the Q&A bit isn't included. So like,
I mean, they do a little bit of one, but we also know that the Q&A is essentially pointless because they won't ever actually answer any question anyone actually wants to know.
Yeah.
Because it will be very much, you'll find that out on Warcom. It's almost the answer to every question.
Yeah. Or, yeah. Yeah, there's lots of darting around the question. It's like,
I personally would just skip all that.
Yeah, that's fair. But anyway,
let's move on. So, there are a few things that I'm going to suggest that we kind of skim over.
There's only one that I had two things to say about.
I noticed that. Don't worry, I've seen the show note. So there's a Mephiston collectible with Weta Workshop. Great, looks cool. Out of everyone's budget. I don't care.
My goodness, it's so expensive.
Oh, I haven't seen the price.
£1,600, I believe.
Yeah. It's a lot of money, but I get why, but it's a lot of money. It's just unbelievable.
If you've got that kind of money in this hobby, most
people
spend
for
that
it
on an army.
Yeah.
Those things, I think someone mentioned it. I think it might have been Valrak's video. I think he said, are they just releasing that for a YouTuber to put in the background?
Yeah, it's good background piece.
Potentially that is what it's for. I think he's not wrong.
I mean, that's
not going to lie, if we had the money and I could take it off my tax bill, put one back there too.
Totally.
But as a general
you
hobbyist,
can also have a big old knight in or a big old titan in a case, like you do have.
I do, yeah. but it's not behind me, sadly. I'm going to skip over your bit. We'll come back to it in a minute, John.
Okay.
Middle-earth stuff, cool new models, great. I'll be fair, I started in Middle-earth when I came to Warhammer, but I don't play it. I don't have much investment in it anymore. But the models do look cool.
The only thing I will say in this, and this feels like the thing every time they come up with new models for Middle-earth, is that they look like old models, even when they're new.
True, but I think that's the intention, because obviously it's based on the 2000 era films.
I get it. I don't know. I fully get it, because like they can't like ask people. They're not getting people to redo it, and they're not going to make a load of redos. But like it does just feel like, oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
they're very cool. My only major issue with them is that they're in the wrong scale. If they were at the same scale as the other two or the other major systems, at least there'd be some cross compatibility with the parts.
Yeah, you could use it for conversion and stuff with like Sigma.
The Middle-earth kits are all at a slightly smaller scale, so you can't you can't use any of the parts with any other rule system.
Ooh. That's actually good to know, because I had an idea for something. I was going to turn Nazgul into Watchers in the Dark.
Oh. I mean, I think they're a little bit taller than your average Watcher in the Dark, but they're certainly a lot smaller than your average Guardsman.
I'll just start cutting bits down until they fit.
Just shave off cloak.
Yeah.
So yeah, Middle-earth, nice models, not that interested. It's just a preference.
Yep.
Underworlds, I gotta be honest, I don't give a monkeys.
No, I didn't.
To be honest,
nice models.
I wasn't that impressed by those models, to be honest. They looked a little bit meh. A lot of Age of Sigmar models I think are awesome, but I'm not really there for that.
Couldn't even tell you what the model was, and I was just looking. I can't even tell you what it was. I think it was some elves.
I think there was an elven mage with some stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, there's also some animations, or an animation that's coming to Warhammer Plus.
The plain one, whatever it's called.
I'll be interested, I'll watch it. Not worth discussing here, I don't think. However, Age of Sigmar. Now, Age of Sigmar is an area of the hobby I gotta be honest, I do not care for that much. I have no interest in playing the game. Fantasy, totally different scenario. But, also say old world. But Sigmar, not really that interested in. Models look very nice. I did very much enjoy some of the releases for Age of Sigmar. There was one particular one I didn't care for, which I think is probably one that John likes based on that. So, John, you'll be more positive than I will be.
I will be briefly positive. I actually really like the Cog Fort. I think the Cog Fort it's just silly enough that there's a part of my brain that's like it's like a bell curve, you know. You've got one side which is like that thing's really cool, then it gets worse and worse and worse, and then it comes back up the other side. And the idea of the steampunk walking castle covered in guns is it speaks to me somehow. But the thing that I saw when I looked at that model, and I was like, that wouldn't take that much conversion, and try and like work out, depending on the size of that base, that's either an amazing Honor Jejune Crawler conversion, or what I want it to be. What I want it to be is a knight.
I think that would be very plausible.
Ideally Questoris, but I take armigers if need to be.
I imagine it will be. Also, don't forget you got the Destria now, which is in between.
That is true, but that's more of a melee focus one. Like this is very guns. Like
no, the Destria's got a full range loadout.
Oh yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does have a full range version. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks alright. I'll be honest, my main problem with Sigmar is, to me, it just looks like their version of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that was the first thing he said.
Everything is over-proportioned and caricature, and to me, the Cities of Sigmar were like, oh, wow, an army that actually looks similar to Old World, and then they just put this bloody great big walking tower in. I'm like, well, there's your World of Warcraft. And I didn't go monkeys about that. The giants with the gate, love it, really cool. They look grounded and grimdark, but then the walking turret. I'm just like, no, you've lost me.
Oh.
Absolutely lost me there.
But yes, and the other bit is the new spearhead, like they're basically their equivalent of the starter box, with some long overdue updates to some Skaven Eshin models. My God, the gutter runners have been the same models for I don't know how long.
40 plus years, I think.
Yeah, they were not looking good. But the real thing that actually made me, and this is coming from somebody who's kind of getting back into this game system, if anybody ever wanted to start Mordheim, just buy that box and you have 2 Mordheim teams with enough options that you would be set for like the full campaign. Because yeah, your guard could definitely be any number of your City Sigmar one could definitely be any number of the mercenary guilds and stuff like that that's in Mordheim, and then you've just got Skaven to fight against, and Skaven and Mordheim are meant to be Clan Eshin, you're set. So yeah, that actually got me, and you've got like a little bit of terrain. You need more terrain in Mordheim, given that there is literally a rule in Mordheim when it comes to terrain, which is all of it. It is just labelled as all of the terrain you can fit on the table. That's how much terrain you put on there.
I like that.
So yeah, there's a good vibe to that. But yeah, that was my main bit on that one. Was actually that I like the new Eshin Skaven. They were long overdue, and yeah, good for Mordheim.
I can't argue with that take. Next, we're gonna have a brief chat, but we're not going to gloss over quite as much. There's some new stuff that is more relevant to what we are interested in as a general consensus. So we got the new Yarrick. I know that's a little bit older than Adepticon, but I want to bring it up because it does tie in very nicely with everything else that we're going to talk about. New Commissar Yarrick model, amazing.
I loved the animation.
Animation very cool as well.
So good.
We'll bring up
Beautiful.
the animation again in a minute, actually.
I really like the animation. I really like how it's not just a redo of it's not just like a redo of an old model. They've actually done some narrative in the model itself.
Yeah.
With like the additional kind of harnessing and stuff like that, and there is then like stories that have now come out since, and in terms, I don't know when they did the article about it explaining.
I think that was
what
relatively recently.
Yeah. But like the fact that comes across in the model is really cool. I just think that's a very cool addition to it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the old Pinchy Claw would fit anymore, but it still amuses me as a vibe. But yeah,
I think there's probably a world where they could have made it work, but they're quite good at making wacky work.
Yeah, but they've nailed the vibe of a Yarrick. Would I want a Yarrick just for the sake of painting one? Maybe. Like just
absolutely.
But I want to buy a Baneblade to convert into the Fortress of Arrogance.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's one thing that they... I was begging them to say that they were going to release an actual Fortress of Arrogance, and they didn't. I was so sad.
Maybe the Baneblade gets the...
They did do the small version of it. Which I have to say I love.
Somebody came up with a name for that was like just a worse version of the Fortress of Arrogance, and it made me properly chuckle, but I can't remember what it was called.
But no, I mean, Commissar Graves on the truck.
I love that.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah, no.
But let's quickly rewind a little bit. Gutmech?
Pretty cool, I guess.
I quite like Gutmech, actually.
I'm not a fan. It doesn't look terrible. It pushes into that cartoony vibe a bit too much for me.
Is it all of the like effects around?
I think that's what annoys me more. I think if someone goes in, clips all those off, and rebases him, I think I'd be fine with him. I would almost argue that I would want, like, if I was going to do it, I'd actually want to push it further. Again, in the thing of the curve of this, if I don't want it to, you know, like, if we're going for effects, let's go for effects. You know, I'll just really go for it. Do I want to, in fact, modify the Gutmech so the Gutmech so that he's instead like doing the Akira bike slide? Quite possibly.
Absolutely, you should.
I'm going to put this out there now. If you help us do well enough and we make some money, that is an episode. Me and John will take that model. I will do the grimdark. He will just take it with wacky.
Yeah.
And we'll vote. We'll have a vote at the end. So yeah, Gutsmate was a bit of a Marmite release, maybe.
Just in that little collection of releases, just very quickly on there, because I can see it's not on the show notes for this one. I love Inquisitor Croyle.
I agree, actually.
From absolutely nowhere, I think that model is really cool.
I 100% agree. I don't know why. I don't really know why they bothered, but I like the fact that they did, because he's cool. Got serious conversion potential with that model.
Oh yeah, 100% seriously.
I do always like a new Inquisitor as well. Just like
it's just a good excuse to have an interesting model at the end of the day.
And congratulations to Inquisitor Karazmov for the successful HRT.
He has had his throne stolen.
Oh no! That was more of a congratulations on the transition. Yeah, that is just like I was like, oh yeah, we've got rid of Karazmov, but we've actually secretly brought him back just as a sisters unit.
I know there's someone in particular who will probably love that, which is one of the Kierans from the Kieran show, because he's been on about Karazmov in every podcast I've watched him.
Yeah, but it feels like the most monkey's paw moment of like, we got rid of it and then brought something else that's almost identical.
I do enjoy the new Sisters one though.
It's very cool.
Very fun.
It's very cool. But I'm gonna have to draw us back into the Armageddon thing a little bit closer, because they suddenly announced Steel Legion weirdly. Kind of tacked on. I have heard, and this is not me that's come up with the idea, but someone suggested that maybe they never were going to do them, and they very quickly had someone do some artwork for a trailer, because, and I believe, I may get this wrong, but I believe it was Arbiter Ian who did a little review, because he was at the live Adepticon show, and he said that in the room they announced that you would expect to see them within 2 years, which we also know is roughly how long it takes them to produce models, because they say it takes between 2 and 3 years between concept and production. Did they ever intend to do Steel Legion, or was this very much people are really pissed off we're not doing Steel Legion, we better do Steel Legion?
I have a counterpoint to that argument.
Go on.
Which is the artwork they put out was copyrighted for 2025.
In which case, did they just grab a piece of artwork that they were going to use in a codex?
Well, the specifically, the design, like that's design art stuff. That's we've seen that kind of art for when they did like the cafe stuff for the first time. That's how they do their model designs. That was dated back in 2025. I'm choosing to believe, because they left it they didn't leave it so long that it like left people's minds when they were like, oh, we're getting, there's not going to be Steel Legion. I think it was actually a bit of a masterful, just like play with the community a little bit. Do a video about painting up your Krieg and Steel Legion. Talk about the fact that, do a trailer, there's no Steel Legion in there. Get everybody talking about Steel Legion and being like, Steel Legion?
It's true, it's a good way to build some hype for...
It is and it isn't. I mean, I definitely get the idea. My biggest thing would be is I'm surprised if they were going to do it, that they wouldn't have it hinted at in the trailer.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing to me. Like, they weren't even hinted at in the trailer.
But people wouldn't. If they were hinted at in the trailer, people would think that's almost weirder than, like, you either do them or you don't do them. I think they were kind of going for the vibe of, like, they're not there, and then reveal that they are actually there, because people noticed the fact that they weren't there, and that got people talking about it. Who knows? We will never know either.
No, we'll never know either way.
Well, I mean, I think we might be able to guess if they only come out with a kill team in 2 years.
Well, yeah.
That's more true, yeah.
that might be the proof in the pudding, really. We'll press on. Horus Heresy reveals. There were some cool kits. Now, as a Legion, from a Legion standpoint, it's somewhat irrelevant to us because every kit that has been made into plastic, we have already had in Legions. We've got the Land Raiders, we've got the Rapiers, we've got the Ogryn, so not interesting from that front. From the perspective of, cool 28mm models, though, hell yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
And I immediately said that those Ogryn I'm going to buy them at some point because I need something to represent some big gribblies for a Chaos Space Marine army.
Yeah,
Of course.
And those Charonite Ogryn look perfect for some conversions for Chaos.
they do look delightfully nasty. Compared to regular Ogryn, they just look nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised when I seen them.
And I believe 4 in a box as well, so I'll be interested to see how much they cost.
Oh, nice.
At least that's what it looked like from some of the images I saw. So yeah, Heresy Vills, cool, but not that interesting in a lot of ways, but I am quite keen on the Ogryn. Now, something that does interest me is the new Kill Team stuff. But I say the stuff. One half of it.
I have an opinion that's counterpoint to that, but carry on.
I mean, you may have an opinion that can point that, but the fact is I only care about one thing in that box, and that is the Red Terror.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
So good.
That is so cool. I genuinely did not expect that to come out anytime soon.
No.
It wasn't even on my radar of things.
Especially not in Kill Team.
No. But yeah, that model is stunning. That is another one of those models I wish I just had the time, money, and freedom to just, I'll buy that and put that on the shelf.
Yeah.
I think we all have that one thing.
Oh no, it's not one. It's not one.
I have a whole list of them.
When was the Red Terror? What was it, like 3rd edition Tyranids Codex? 4th?
It was
3rd till 6th, I believe.
yeah, it's an old one.
Awesome model. Love a named Tyranid.
Amazing model. The other side of that box, don't care.
So, this is my take on the other side of the box. Is the other side of the box the single most boring collection of Guard I have ever seen? Yes. But I looked at that side of the box, and that was the side of the box that excited is the wrong word to use here. Okay? Because, yeah, they are incredibly boring. I got excited because I looked at it and went, awesome. I don't have to buy that side of the box, but they're so generic that they could be any Guard. You want Catachan Kill Team? There's your Catachan Kill Team. I was like, I want to make a Vestroyan Firstborn Kill Team. So the Guards there are going to be Vestroyan Firstborn. Or you could do them as Steel Legion. You could do them as, what's the ones with the masks? The Janissary, what are they called? Macadamian Janissaries or Macadam Janissary?
Yeah.
But they're so generic that if you have a flavor of Guard, that is your kill team. And you just paint them up and you just make them those models. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it got me excited from this is a team you could really model.
Yeah, from a customization standpoint.
Because there's no really hyper specific flavor. Whereas take the space, the last Space Marine one was Wolf Guard. Wolf Scouts. They are much more specific. Every rule is going to be written around wolf thing or storm thing or wolf storm or whatever. Whereas these, I assume the rules are just going to be your guard does guard thing. Shoot lasgun. Does it matter what that lasgun is? No.
Yeah, I mean, from a rules perspective, it does unlock some options there, which is nice. But in terms of the box, they do nothing for me.
They are the guardest guard that ever guarded.
But it does bring an interesting point onto, because we've also had another interesting release for Kill Team not that long ago, which was obviously the Nightbringer, which was a big scary beastie.
Yes.
We've now got the Red Terror.
Yes.
And they've also announced that there is a Rules Edition or supplement or something.
Kill Team Nemesis Operatives.
Yeah, so where you can obviously, which from what I gather basically means you can have big scary beasties or vehicles or monsters that your kill team, or kill teams potentially, can fight.
Yeah.
Which brings me on to a point I think me and you joked about quite a while ago, where I said it'd be really funny to paint up my version of Alpharius out of the Guilliman model and have a kill team versus a Promarch.
Yeah. I mean, that's very doable now.
Yeah. And you said to me back then, "Oh, that'll never happen. That just won't work in the game."
Are we also entering the era of my Titan kill team?
You get a single leg. You get one leg of a Titan.
Titans can be a kill team. They're the board.
You fight on the Titan.
You can play on the Titan. But yeah, I had to bring that up because I remember that conversation. I remember you telling me that's never going to happen, and I'm like, well,
I mean,
it kind of can.
At the time, I didn't think it was going to happen.
No, but I saw it. I saw the potential.
But yeah, no, I quite like the idea of the Nemesis operatives. I'll be intrigued to see what the rules look like when they come out.
Honestly,
because...
I've said to you before, I really would like to play a bit more kill team, and we've now got a platform where we probably have a good excuse to do it. That massively interests me because that makes the whole concept of kill team very intriguing because it's like playing at a cinematic moment in a video game or something. Where you play against the big boss.
Well, so from the article, there's a really interesting bit, which is the idea of they're saying like a dreadnought and a hellbrute going at it in the middle, whilst the teams are like trying to work around the outside, like avoid getting caught in the crossfire. Which is like that's a really cool idea. So yeah,
it's a great excuse as well to if there's like that really cool big beastie that you just want but you have no use for one, you do.
Yeah, and it's also going to be a great one for because like I very much think that I don't think they're going to do the Red Terror as you can take your kill team and it's just the Red Terror. I think that box is intended for their co-op mode. So essentially, you take half, like both teams take half of the guards, and then you drop your Red Terror, and what they have revealed from like the box is a bunch of Termagants, and you're just trying to do like a co-op PvE essentially against the Red Terror in that scenario.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's probably exactly what it'll be. That's still really cool.
Oh yeah. I wasn't saying it wasn't cool. I just need to make sure that we're tempering expectations of your kill team is just the Red Terror. Although, if there is a kill team that is just the Red Terror, that is the funniest kill team in the world.
Yes,
because that's like rocking up to a game, like 1,000-point game, being like, Knight, done. Yeah. 2,000-point game, Warhound Titan. That's my army. Deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it's a viable thing. I say viable.
You're not going to score many points. Yeah, you're not going to score many points, but you are going to kill anything that you look at.
So yeah, very interesting release. I am quite keen to have a go at that new kill team idea. So yeah, I'm quite keen on that one. That could be very interesting. So I think we might have to do an episode on that at some point.
I think we do all have a kill team as well.
Yeah, some of us have several.
Oh yeah, you have loads.
John has every kill team.
I don't have every kill team.
Just 90% of them.
Most of them.
I was running through my head and like no, I can still tick off ones that I don't have. There's not many. But I don't have them all.
I definitely have at least one that I can run competently as a kill team, and then I have several other units scattered around that I can make kill teams from.
That's the nice thing. I mean, I just very quickly, I'm hoping that at some point we hear about a new edition of Kill Team. There's some things that I would like to see happen with Kill Team, but I don't think they will. But that's again a conversation for a different day.
So pressing on, then, I think it is time. There is a rather large elephant in the room. Sorry, mastodon in the room.
From Halo or
no, we are going to venture into the realm of 40,000, shall we say. 11th edition was announced. Can I confidently say that not a single human being on this planet was surprised? Yes, I don't think anybody was surprised.
The second worst kept secret.
There's a new edition. Let's go over a few things. Let's just pick up some key things. So, first off, the trailer. Was the trailer a very cool, action-packed animation? Yes.
Yes.
Was it a great cinematic intro to a new edition of the game? It lacked something for me.
I think after 10th had such like a good introduction with lots of different highlights on lots of new units, it felt like it was lacking in that department.
Do you know what I think the real problem for me is that 10th edition, it was narrated and shown from the perspective, essentially, of Gilliman, a big character in the setting. We only just had the Horus Heresy trailer as well, and who were the mainliners of that trailer? Who were the focal points? Constantine Valdor and Malcador himself. We had these big names presenting the narrative of this new edition. They felt grand and epic. The 11th edition trailer just felt like it could have been a YouTube animation.
I think as well it was doubly underwhelming because of the Commissar Yarrick trailer as well.
Yeah,
coming just before it.
Yeah, I think like they could have had what's the Blood Angels the chaplain. Lamatis. They could have had Lamatis like that, but then that wouldn't have shown off the actual thing that they were trying to reveal. You could have had Dante. It could have been narrated by Dante. That could have been.
It needed that grandiose character just narrating the story, maybe, and they didn't have to be involved in the cinematic fight because none of the others were.
No,
they just had to be there to add that gravitas to the story.
Especially with it being a change of focus from Ultramarines as well.
Like the Ultramarines are still there. They needed their constellation prize. Yeah, you're still there. Don't worry, Ultramarines, you're still here.
Still relevant. But I think having like Dante like way back, maybe on like a parapet or something behind the battlefield, discussing the events that are about to happen, and then you zoom into the chaplain charging in and smashing the shit out of some orcs.
There is one little bit that it does bug me ever so slightly about that chaplain. There's a defining feature to a chaplain, right? There's a defining thing that is meant to be when a chaplain is on the field and almost exclusively what they should be doing. Wearing that skull mask, and they shouldn't be taking it off for the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the ending of Space Marine 2 has done some damage. I don't need to see. I want the skull. The skull's meant to be on all the time. On a flip side of it, something which I think was just like a really cool element and like a positive for that as a trailer is from the interactions that happen throughout the entire thing, I know what every unit in that is going to do and is going to be. Like the way that the kind of vanguards, the vanguard vets, like that kind of like the way they jumped in and they were using power swords, you know what that's going to be like. The one that I think was a real kind of highlight is that orc vehicle is going to have an invul save because you see it get shot and you see a shield like kick in. And there is going to be some kind of thing that means that's why that like it works presumably from a like rules representing the video kind of thing. You can kind of get like, oh, what does an invul save look like? It looks like this. What does your focused rather than your like spread psychic attack from your orc weird boy look like? It's gonna look like this. I did very much enjoy the orcs in that. They especially the Orc Weird Boy. The Orc Weird Boy, that was a good representation of an Orc Weird Boy.
Yeah, it was a very cool trailer. It was a very cool animation.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like the big introduction to 11th edition.
Yeah, no, it lacked the secret sauce.
Yeah,
which is a shame because the last two major trailers they've done, I thought were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Horus Heresy, even the original Horus Heresy one with the Horus himself narrating it was
so good.
I still watch it now. It's that good.
I guess the risk that could have been run is if they had done something that was almost the same as 10th edition. Would we be sitting here going, they did the same thing as 10th edition?
Yeah.
True, but then you probably make an argument for every potential thing that they could have done. Said, well, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it was still cool. It could have been more, but I think it was still cool.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it was cool. It didn't grab me.
Yeah.
Not in the same way.
It didn't give me the same hype as the 10th edition.
No,
one did.
it was. Again, it probably doesn't help that we stayed up and watched it as well. And when that came on, I was like, is that it?
We were a little bit underwhelmed.
I'll tell you what is actually one thing that is very surprising, considering it's orcs.
Mm.
There was humour in the 10th edition trailer.
Mhm.
Only a little bit, only the smallest touch, but the bit where the librarian lands and you see the two the psychophages
Yeah.
like turn, like the music stops and they turn and do almost like this dog moment to be like food, and like that little bit there still sticks in my head. It's just like they were having a bit of fun with that moment, and it's like you had orcs, the funnest like thing. Where was that little bit of just like a little bit of orc humor? Have it narrated by orcs. That would have been really funny.
I mean, I think maybe they were trying to go with the more grim dark thing because they're obviously harkening back to the old edition as well.
But the older edition had plenty of fun. Armageddon. They were one of the famous orcs of Armageddon. Orchimedes. That is written in there. Okay, they could still have fun even in the older edition.
They can, but it was a much more grim dark trailer. Like overall,
But that's what I mean. Like just a moment, just like a.
I don't disagree. They could have had a little moment in there; would have been fine. And you're right; it's a little bit surprising because it was orcs.
Yeah,
but I also think it worked quite well because it also showed the fact that orcs they're not really the funny-go-lucky things that you tend to see. They are actually very vicious and horrible when viewed from the other side.
Yeah.
So I quite liked it.
give me another trailer, but from the orcs' perspective. But like, it's just like complete.
It would be very different. Like from their perspective, it'd be hilarious. But from the Imperial side, it's horrific.
Yeah.
Anybody a fan of or like ever played TF2 back in the day, Team Fortress 2?
Mhm.
The pyro trailer.
The
The
pyro trailer.
orcs' perspective is the pyro trailer.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never seen anything to do with it. Enough about the trailer. Let's have a quick fire. What kits potentially are going to be in this new edition, or at least certainly the launch of the edition. So we know there's new intercessors,
And every GW store is finally breathing a sigh of relief, because now they can go, here's your free model, it's an intercessor, rather than here's your free model, it's an Infernus Marine. You now need to go and buy another one of them from this box that's still mono-pose build. It's like, no, here's your intercessor. It's a dude with a bolter. Be like, it's the same as the one that's on every poster that you've got, as opposed to, here's your guy with a flamethrower. Like, where's the flamethrower come in? Like, bolter? No.
I don't even think Salamander's players were overly impressed by the Infernus Marines.
No.
They were just, I mean, they were cool. They're cool that they exist. I like a flamethrower. I like a
flamethrower. I do not like the idea of an entire unit of flamethrowers.
I love a flamer. I would love a unit of flamers if flamers were good.
I mean, I love them conceptually. I've never liked them in terms of game rules. Less in Legion. Legion flaming is great.
The new intercessor is it. I mean, cool. Yes,
it's a new intercessor. So it's not to write home about.
I was going to say they've got the Mark 7 helmet. That's all I want in my life.
From what I gather, it's not just that. I think
no, there is a little bit more.
There's definitely hints there that they're making use of other components from other marks as well.
There's difference in the shoulder pads, I believe, and there is also
the new Corsairs kit was a hint at, because that's got a shitload of marks in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, like my hope, we have a thing with mixed armor. Cool. Mixed loadout for my intercessors. Pretty please. Could I have a flamer with my intercessor? Could I have a rocket launcher? Could I have a tactical squad, please? Could I just have my...
Can we have upscale tacticals? You never know. I'm not going to hold my breath, but you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would pass out at that point.
So yeah, new intercessors, interesting. I like the idea. It's cool. It's as cool as a basic infantry can be, unless it's like a strategies. because their basic ones are amazing.
I do think as a reveal to go with the box, maybe a character would have been nicer than just like your standard infantry.
I believe Valrak has said potentially why they've done that, and it makes a lot of sense because obviously 3D modelers see these things and just bash it out within 24 hours. So yeah, I do kind of get it,
Especially with like new like AI tools and stuff like it.
Obviously, the moment they come out, it'll happen anyway, and people know that, so they'll wait for it if that's what they're going to do anyway. So it doesn't really make a difference, I don't think, but I do kind of get it. But anyway, the boys, not the show. The new Orc boys. I'm hoping, right? So I like what they've done here. They've said, actually, do you know what? Orcs just have all the stuff because they would. It makes a lot of sense.
There's no reason why they would specialize. Like
no, especially as Space Marines can rock around with melee weapons and pistols and guns. Why can't Orcs, who are actually tougher and stronger than most Space Marines anyway? So, I like that. It's a great solve for that problem. I'm hoping they don't get rid of the old kit now as well. When I say the old kit, the new old.
The new old kit, yeah, the one that's like a mixed one.
Yeah, so the one that is the mixed one, because now it doesn't matter because they're all assumed to have it, and it's a really nice kit with some nice poses and stuff in it. So I'm hoping that doesn't go away. I'm okay if they do this and then they get rid of the old one.
I mean, yeah, they really need to get rid of the old one. I looked at it the other day because I was talking to somebody about some like the old Orc models, and they're like, "What do you mean the old Orc models?" And I got up and just like rotate that model and see the way that the spine like curves up like that. They're like the old dragons. They've got the S shape to them.
So I'm hoping they don't get rid of that box. I'm hoping this is just another boys box option. Because it doesn't matter now. You might as well use them. They look cool. So why get rid of them?
Yep. I like the boys. I think the boys are fun. They're having been painting like a chunk of orcs for Kill Team. I'm happy to see more orcs. They've definitely got like a more kind of like a pig nose on these ones in particular. Is the only way I can describe it, especially on the model they showed off.
More of a snout rather than a...
More of a snout, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did notice something about the facial features being a bit different now that you've mentioned it, but I didn't really twig, so to speak. That's really cool. Back to Space Marines, Vanguard veterans.
I need to see that model, but my real hope is what they look like when they come out in multi-part.
We're getting specialised jump pack Space Marines. Cool.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Cool.
We've got the Stern Guard. The Stern Guard then came out with a bunch more things. Actually, can I take this as a brief opportunity to just like a mini thing of what I hope for 11th related to the statement of Stern Guard? Now that they have used multiple times the one-shot keyword, give me Stern Guard veterans with a one-shot on those combi guns. Because they have a range of combi guns, just give me a one-shot melter, give me a one-shot plasma, as opposed to the weird rule that they use now.
I don't even know what rules they use anymore. I have not played it. I have not played 10th edition, I think, since the first 3 months it came out.
It's just combi weapon. Like
Yeah, everything is a combi weapon.
Yeah.
Is it a combi flamer, a combi plasma, a combi melter? Nope, they're all the same.
They all do the same. And they all basically do the same as a bolt gun. Right.
They do a worse job than a bolt gun. That's the thing, is they do a worse job than a bolt gun. You're statistically better off taking a bolt gun every time.
Yeah.
Vanguard veterans look cool. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure in the trailer I saw a two-handed chainsaw in there.
I might need to go back and look at it with a bit more detail.
I'm not 100% sure, but I swear I saw a two-handed chainsaw, which means that if they're bringing back the Eviscerators, that's cool.
The Eviscerators would be very cool. I really hope that either in this version of it or when they come out in a multi-part version, we get some Lightning Claws, because I feel like Lightning Claws are massively underrepresented.
Certainly are, especially the Primaris era ones as well, because the new Primaris ones look really nice.
There's one set that exists, and they are on the Black Templars Sword Brethren.
There is also Ethan Shan and Caven Trike.
I meant on units, but yes.
Yeah.
But there are
Yes.
more representations of Lightning Claws. And I do really like the new style, actually. I think they're very cool.
They're
So
very,
yes,
very
I agree. Lightning Claws would be nice.
I'm all for lightning
Yep.
claws.
I love lightning balls.
To go along with Jump Packs, Jump Pack Chaplain. Cool.
Amazing.
We like
I love a chaplain. I love a jump pack.
I'm not going to lie, I would prefer a Jump Pack Librarian.
Well, maybe there's a librarian in the box. There's something. There's a little picture on that box that looks maybe a little bit like a librarian. Maybe they've got a jump pack on their back.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt I'll be that lucky. There may be a librarian in there. Who knows? There's also a hint maybe of an ancient being in there as well, isn't there?
There's a guy with a banner.
It's a guy with a banner, therefore ancient. Back on to Orcs though for a minute. Orc War Boss, which I believe is the same one we've already seen revealed. I believe.
No, because it's a boss. The war boss is coming out later. It's the boss knob that's the one that's in the new box.
Okay.
So not a full war boss, just a little guy. A little guy by just a little boss. He's just a little boss as opposed to a big boss. But he does have a little squig.
He does, which is very cute.
I do love the little squig.
The little squig is the star of the show, always, every time. Okay, cool. The big orky walking gun thing.
I'm going to affectionately refer to it as the orc.
When I saw that, do you know what the first thing I thought of was? Skaven.
Okay.
It just looked like a Skaven contraption.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does look very Skaven. Yeah, I think it's a cool big walking gun. I think it'll be very dependent on what its rules are, and whether or not I don't know whether it maybe gets like a different model later on, but it'd be weird to make a vehicle that then gets like a different loadout or stuff like that. I don't know orc weapons well enough to know kind of what it does as a weapon. It looked kind of lightning-y, or maybe it was like was it?
I honestly can't remember. I know it shot out another unit out of the sky that we'll come to in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, big orc walker. I love a walker. I'm fascinated to see. I really hope that when you actually get the model, there is no engine underneath. It's just a bunch of grots just doing this with like a big like set of like things to turn. It's you know what? Now that I say it, it's so Skaven.
It just to me it's just a Skaven thing.
Yeah.
I think they stole it from Age of Sigmar.
They did. That was secretly an Age of Sigmar model.
A weird boy.
Love a weird boy.
Pretty good
That's
chance
cool.
that must be a new model because it was quite prominent in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very much a.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see whether that effect is going to be part of the model or not, or whether that was just artistic license in the trailer.
As I said, I reckon that was showing off two different weapon profiles.
Yeah,
I
focused versus.
We have started to see in a few models like these kind of effects and stuff. So I'm curious to see whether that might be an option of some description on the model.
Yeah, it might be an option maybe if they do like a second one later on, or like because we know it won't be an option because there won't be any options in the starter box.
Yeah.
If not, somebody is going to have a lot of fun like modeling that. If he's like in a roaring pose, like leaning forward, just model that like. Blah.
Oh, we know someone will.
Maybe we're getting a Return of Blast templates.
I think there was two different reactions there. I know they won't bring back Blast templates, but I hope they would bring back Dark. Like I would love Blast templates to return.
Yeah.
I have no hope.
Yeah,
But it's fine because I play Legions and we got Blast templates.
That's true.
we do have Blast templates. We have the funnest Blast templates because those are big Blast templates when you really think about it.
Yeah, scale is just in your favour there in some ways.
Yeah.
I think the final thing to potentially talk about in terms of what we know probably is in this box is that land speeder. I personally assumed that the Storm Speeder was its replacement. So I was very surprised. You probably noticed in the notes I put down, are they maybe going to reposition it in the hierarchy a little bit so that it's now like a Phobos or Scout vehicle?
Yeah,
Where the Storm Speeder is the more frontline Tacticus version.
because they have the one with the Scout one already.
Yeah, there is a Scout version of it, which made me why I was thinking maybe it could be just an upgraded Scout version, or maybe it's a dual part kit where you can have Phobos or Scouts on it, or something like that. Who knows?
Maybe I don't know what the goal is. I feel like from a cynical business perspective, the goal is, nobody's buying the Storm Speeder. Maybe if we try and bring out this thing that looks like that thing you remember, you can have your thing back. And try and basically selling it from that perspective of, hey, you've got your old helmets back, and we're going to bring you back the Land Speeder. Do you want to buy it now, people? I mean, I don't think they were hurting for sales in any particular way, but yeah.
Which, as someone who that is one of my all-time favorite models, the Land Speeder.
I've never liked the Land Speeder ever. I'm not even overly fan of the Storm Speeder.
I mean, my favorite part of the Storm Speeder is Brother Tinnitus, but that's about it.
Yeah, I just never really floated my boat, to be honest.
I wonder if potentially this is maybe a mark of things to come. Of the Storm Speeder, I wonder if the Land Speeder is actually just going to be a replacement for the Storm Speeder, and they've gone, we've tried the Primaris thing, everyone kind of hated doing the new thing, so let's go back to doing the old thing, and everyone will love it again.
Wait, do you mean they might replace the ATV with an attack bike?
I would be very unsurprised if they did.
Because let's be honest, no one likes the ATV.
I'll go one step further. They replace the oh god, what the hell's it called? The hover vehicle, not the Gladiator.
Repulsor? Impulsor?
It's Repulsor. Impulsor, of course, because everything has to begin with an I.
He says the hover vehicle. Oh, every Primaris vehicle.
All the Primaris vehicles.
Yeah, that becomes a Rhino. I would be very unsurprised if we start to see suddenly all of the old things that people have been saying, can we have that back? And they just bring it back again.
Putting tracks back on our flying turrets.
The Thunderstrike turret was perfect.
I mean, I don't hate a lot of the new stuff they've done. I think a lot of it is just resistance to change, to be honest. But there are some questionable decisions. I absolutely agree. The Impulse.
I actually don't hate the ATV.
I mean, I don't particularly like the ATV, but I'm not offended by it.
I liked the ATV when I converted it heavily for Death Guard.
Yeah, I mean, the Impulsor was an odd choice. I'm not massively keen on that one.
I think all the hover tanks just feel a little bit squat, and they don't get away with it as much as the tracked tanks.
I don't have any problem with any of them. It's literally just the Impulsor, and it's because it's got a flatbed. I think if you got rid of that, it'd be alright.
The pickup truck full of...
That's literally the only thing I don't like about it. Like, the rest of them, I'm quite happy with all of them. I think they look fine.
Yeah.
They look Space Marine to me.
Yeah, they look a modern Space Marine.
I think box with a lot of guns on it.
Yeah.
I can very much picture, though, that Land Speeder is going to just be a Land Speeder. I don't think... It might have Phobos in. I just genuinely think it might just be a Land Speeder.
I find it hard to believe that they drop the Storm Speeder in its favour.
I don't know whether they necessarily drop it, but I think they probably bring both out and then see what happens in terms of state.
I do feel like if the intention is for them to both exist in the same ecosystem, it has to have a role that the Storm Speeder doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit faster, maybe it's a bit... like it's got some other rule, like
maybe it's more of a faster forward deployment kind of thing.
Yeah, like a transport.
That's my prediction anyway of what it might turn out to be. But it could be anywhere or anything else.
Could be anything. Could be anything.
Speculation. So that's the box. That's the trailer. Now we did actually get some information about the new edition, which I think is worth going over. The first and most obvious, I would argue, is the fact that obviously this is not a hard reset of the system. This is almost, I've heard it say, 10.5.
Yep.
All of your codexes will be valid. Yes, the fact that the codexes are still valid is going to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
Don't have to
And-
spend money on brand new
Justifiably
ones.
so.
I was going to say, who was last to get their codex?
Good question. I don't know. Is the genuine answer.
Was it Drukari? I feel like they held on for ages.
Yeah, sounds about
Yeah.
right. It probably was actually, because I think Lady Malice was the release with that, and I'm pretty sure that was just before Christmas. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, so the fact that codexes are going to carry over is going to be very nice for a lot of people, and I don't blame them at all. I am going to point out that this also happened between 8th and 9th, and the gulf of balance between the old 8th codexes and 9th was horrific. And there is a chance that might happen again. Unless they've planned for it properly this time, in which case it might be fine. But it's worth just reminding people that, yes, it does sound great that your codex still works, but if it was anything like the 8th to 9th transition, it almost doesn't matter, because the old codexes were nigh on useless anyway.
Yeah, because it's going to be the same sort of creep, like power creep, as they always do.
So
I mean, they've gotten better at dealing with something like the power creeps, like especially with like giving out those detachments to factions that are doing really poorly. Like they've definitely been more on top of it in terms of trying to maintain a balance in 10th edition. I think,
from the sounds of it, from what I've heard, they've done quite a good job, relatively speaking. Obviously, I've not played 10th really. It's not really inspired me to be interested. So I won't overly comment on the rules, so to speak. I just wanted to remind people that yes, it does sound great, but there is a potential downside.
Yeah. The downside of not having that hard reset that puts everyone on the same footing.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't think there's much difference, really. That's kind of the point. Whether it's a hard reset or not, there is still a chance that your army is still going to be useless for half the bloody edition anyway.
Yeah.
Whether you're on an index or an old codex, it could be the same problem.
I'm just hoping that they keep some of the lessons that they've learned from 10th as it's been going through.
Yeah, I sincerely hope so, but then I could argue that should be the case in every fucking edition.
It should. My biggest hope, and I know they won't, but my biggest hope for it was that they just get rid of codexes.
Well, I mean, I suppose this brings us on really to the crying shame that everyone was kind of hoping would eventually hit Games Workshop, is that they wouldn't charge for the rules anymore and they would just release them.
That's a shame.
I don't think that was ever going to happen.
No.
Wishful thinking, I think.
I was going to say, so they could do what they did with Kill Team. So Kill Team, you can get the bare basic rules for free. And they're light rules. And that is the light rules for the game. And then if you want to actually play the game properly, you need to go and buy the core rules book. Every faction comes out, and the rules for that kill team are completely free. If you want to read about your kill team, learn about your kill team, you buy the book that comes with the kill team. That's it. And I would genuinely rather that they were just like, here are all the rules for your codex. We're just going to make it entirely digital. It's going to be entirely through the app. If you want to read about your faction, the codex is a storybook. It's a picture book. Like, just do it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone obviously is on the same line of thinking now. That's what we all think should happen. It won't happen because people still buy the codexes, so they're still making money from it, so they're not going to change that.
And that's the thing. If they did it as just a storybook, it would lose them sales.
It would lose them some sales, absolutely.
Because I probably wouldn't pick up a codex just to read about it.
It wouldn't, and not unless it was one I was particularly interested in, maybe. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you want, this is going to sound really optimistic in a way, but the only way to stop them from selling the rules is if you stop buying them. If everyone, or at least 90% of people, turn around and said, "Do you know what? I ain't going to buy it," then they'll stop. They would have no.
They'd have to.
They'd have no drive then to try and push that as a sales metric. But the problem is that they know it will sell because people will buy them.
Or make it part of the subscription.
Well, there is also that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the alternative option that still makes them money in theory. It would probably be a very good way of getting a lot more people onto Warhammer Plus in fairness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They, as far as we know, they haven't done that. There is an outside chance that something's going to be free in the rules universe, because they have mentioned that the app is getting some major updates. One of those updates was that you would be able to check out your opponent's data sheets, which does imply there's going to be a level of openness to the rules.
Do Warhammer Plus like Audible. You get a credit every month, or every however long they want to do it. Say they did it every 6 months. I get you a free codex.
We could talk to and argue about.
Yeah, we're not going to make any big changes in it, are we?
There are many ways they could do it. The fact is, it doesn't seem like they are. But that thing about the app did pique my interest a little bit, because it does imply that there must be some level of free access.
Yeah, there must be something in there for it to be that way. Maybe you can't build the army, but you can look at the army.
But yeah, it's interesting to keep an eye on. I think if they were going to just make the rules free, that would have been part of the announcement, because it would have been huge. And it would have given them an astronomical level of appreciation. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, maybe that's why they're not doing it yet. They're waiting for that day where they do something so bad that they just go, rules are free.
Yeah. Everyone just forgets.
That's their get out of jail free card. Still on the codex line of thinking then, detachments. They've mentioned that you can mix detachments.
An interesting idea.
Yeah, you can have multiple detachments, or at least more than one anyway, potentially, however they word it.
Yeah, I don't like. It's an interesting wording of like being able to combine elements from different detachments, like my concern with that as an idea is you end up with a best version of a detachment.
That's all that exists, John.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Maybe I'm just too hopeful that they don't encourage people to build a meta version of it. I know that
never going to happen while the tournaments exist.
Yeah, okay.
Burn
them to the ground. No more tournaments. Tournaments are banned.
The concept of competition immediately means that no matter what you do, no matter what rule set you do, no matter how balanced you think it will be, there will always be loopholes, and the competitive people will always find the loopholes. They will always find the best combination of units or rules or whatever. You cannot get away with that.
You can just choose to play a more narrative way, or
which is why I think this is why like the concept of combined armies and stuff should not exist for matched play or tournament play. But why the hell can't you do it in casual gaming?
Yeah, I like it as it feels like it's more of a turn away from making the rules cater exclusively to tournament play and actually taking into account the people who aren't in it for the competitive side of it. Right, it feels like a step in the right direction.
They have obviously said that they want to downplay or remove the concept of matched versus narrative play, which I get, but at the same time, I think actually is. The problem isn't the fact that the two concepts exist. The problem is you only focus on one.
That's the thing. Like having slightly different rule set for tournament versus narrative, so you can still have the sort of fun of narrative that's a bit more casual and a bit less balanced, versus the thing that needs to be like tightly packed.
The two ecosystems should exist separately, I think, in order to make something actually work.
Well, it's like with like online games where you have like a like ranked competitive versus just casual matches.
Yeah, the two I think should exist separately. The problem wasn't the fact that that they existed as separate entities. The problem was that they only ever catered to match play.
Yeah,
everything was focused around that. That was the problem, and they've done what quite often companies sadly do is they know there's a problem, but they focus on the wrong part of it, which is a shame. Especially as I think there is now going to be a risk that now that they're going to supposedly potentially merge the two ecosystems together, what you're going to end up with is either something that's horrifically unbalanced because it caters mostly to the narrative side of things, or it's going to be so weirdly balanced that you don't feel like you can do the narrative stuff anymore. Or at least that will be the ideology of most people going into the game. People like us, obviously, will just go, I don't like that rule, so get rid of it.
Yeah.
We'll write our own rules.
Unless it's like a pushback from the 10th edition sort of simple everything down to massively cater to match play, and then they're just like correcting it back to bring it more into a midpoint.
I don't think that's going to be the case, because I think the simplification was more to make it more accessible to a larger population rather than the difference between the two systems. That concerns me a little bit. I'm not 100% convinced I'm going to play 11th edition, but we'll come on to that later.
Are you sure we're not going to come to that right now?
No, there's more stuff to talk about that's more interesting. So mixed attachments, the concept sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would be very interested if they also allowed you to do a little bit of army mixing again, because I like that concept. Especially the idea of me I want to run a knight army, but I also want some infantry.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it a little bit with like the Imperial Agents faction, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was a little bit more freedom of mixing.
I'm also aware that back in the very competitive days of 7th edition, that was a massive problem.
Chowder.
So, who knows? We'll see.
That was the problem of 7th edition.
Yeah.
No sidekick. I'm very sad about that. We won't focus on it because it was just me going to be complaining.
It was never going to happen.
I know it wasn't going to happen, but there was a small part of me that hoped that there might be a little bit of psychic returning to the game.
You just really want to have 2 phases where you're striking opponents off the board without any repercussions.
I want cool, funny things to happen.
He wants to blow other people's stuff
The
up.
existential dread of my own stuff exploding is hilarious.
Yeah,
you just want 2 massacre rounds.
But Tau players can only have 1 phase they sit and do nothing. They can't have 2 phases they sit and do nothing.
He's a masochist. He just wants to see if his body can take it. That's what it is. I didn't ever, much like Blast templates, I didn't expect to see a psychic phase return.
No, I didn't expect that. I hoped.
The only thing that I can hope for in terms of a psychic phase is seeing like psychic arrive into basically the command phase, like rolling it into that.
Same thing then at that point.
Yeah,
Well,
it's kind of doing that. Would be kind of doing.
I don't give a monkeys whether it's its own phase or not, or whether it at least give you the ability to roll some dice to see if magic happens.
I mean, that's basically what they did with Thousand Sons. One of the detachments lets you do that.
Yes, one of the detachments of one army. Yes, they don't have. It doesn't have to be its own phase. Just bring it back. But they're not. So okay. However, something that is very interesting is that they've said that there are 70 new detachments
That's a lot.
on launch.
That's like a lot, right?
And all 70 of them are going to be Space Marines.
No, John.
Probably.
No. I'm going to
Some
put
of them
this
are
to
gonna be
bed
orcs.
right now, okay?
Okay.
They will not all be Space Marines, okay?
Okay.
About 15 of them will be for the successor chapters. And then the extra, I don't know, about 30 of them will be for Space Marines. And then the rest will be divided among the others.
Oh, don't forget, no. Calgar gets 5. 1 for every suit of armor.
I hope not.
The detachment for Calgar in Regular, Tacticus, Calgar in Terminator, Calgar in Gravis, Calgar in Phobos, and the new Scout Calgar.
Ah, but you're also forgetting about the Calgar in Repulsor.
Oh, of course.
And Calgar in the big Sigmar shooty tower.
Calgar in Stormbird.
Calgar and Storm. See, it's 70 detachments. It's all Calgar in various vehicles.
Oh. Yeah, guys, it's detachments, not data sheets.
Yeah, a detachment per data sheet, right? Exclusively for Calgar.
So yeah, 70 new detachments on release.
Mm.
That's very interesting. Very interesting.
That is very surprising.
I do, all jokes aside, I imagine a lot of them will be Space Marine or Space Marine adjacent.
Yeah. But I like that it looks like more customization is coming.
Yeah, some more options being open to everyone would be nice. I would absolutely salute Games Workshop if there were 70 new detachments and not a single one with Space Marines.
I would be happy, and I'd play
Honestly.
Space Marines.
No, it won't. But when I say Space Marine, I mean the core Space Marine faction. I wouldn't even be upset if there was a couple for the successors, so that then they could turn around and say, actually, successors can only take these. I'd be okay with that. But like the core Space Marines should not be allowed anymore. So that's interesting anyway. I'll be curious to see what the layout of that is. I won't be surprised if a significant portion of Space Marine related.
What if it's very careful wording around this, like 17 new detachments? It's 17 new detachments for 11th edition, because 11th edition doesn't exist yet. So when we port over all of the detachments from 10th edition, it's 17 new 11th edition detachments. It's just all of the old ones in the new edition.
It's slightly rewritten.
It's slightly rewritten.
One of them is just flavour text at the top.
Literally, that's it.
That would be hilarious. Well, it would be hilarious for me from having not played it a while. I think that wouldn't be hilarious for a lot of people, though.
I think a lot of people would be very angry at that particular bit, but yeah.
That would.
That's when they announced the new rules are free.
Yeah.
And if it still goes down really badly, they press that big button that they've got, which says "Release Exodites."
Yeah.
That is a button they have. I'm sure there is a big button that's just like
they've got their own version of like the Deathcon system.
yeah. When it gets all down, when it gets all the way down to the bottom, they're like, quickly press the button. Exodites released.
Terrain as objectives.
That's quite interesting, I think.
That I am so happy about.
Yeah, that's nice.
I genuinely think that is probably one of the best decisions they could have made, so long as it's handled correctly.
No more circles!
I hate the circles. I hate them with passion.
No more circles!
I hate the circles. I am really interested to find out if that means that whether there's something that changes and you can only take objectives with infantry, or things that can fit inside of terrain.
I imagine not, but I imagine there will be some kind of system where infantry have the advantage because they can occupy it rather than just be near it. A bit like how Legions does it with like infantry are worth more, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that this edition has more of a focus on like terrain being useful.
It does sound like it does. A couple of things they've announced regarding terrain does sound very interesting. The point about the objectives being terrain, as soon as I read that, I was like, why didn't I think of that? So, at some point, very soon in the nearest future, probably, you will probably find that my objective markers change for Legion. And I'm still using my banners, but what I'll do is I'm going to make some little terrain dioramas, and you just put your flag in the diorama instead. Because
little bunkers.
I am so annoyed I didn't think of that. Of course, that's genius.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I wish I'd thought of that myself. But
yeah,
hindsight is a terrible thing.
So, yeah, you will see that happen. I'll be interested. That's one of the rules will be interesting. So I'll be interested to see how they handle it and how I can translate that for Legions. That'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that is one that I think a lot of people are excited about because I'm sick of L-shaped ruins and circles on the ground. What I actually really hope though is that they make it so that it's not. I don't want an aura to be the thing that I'm trying to take when it comes to taking a building. I want it to be you either can there's nothing that's worse than either having to go and get something that is a clear marker that shows what that 3-inch aura looks like, or you have to go and be like, okay, well, if I measure it to this guy, they've got that 3 inches. I just want this template that is the building. Are you in the building? You can take the building. If you're not in the building, you can't take the building.
The stuff that feels more immersive rather than gamey.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I do hope that they introduce destructible terrain. That'd be nice.
That would be very cool.
That would be very cool.
They had it before.
They have it in Kill Team.
They have it in Legions.
Yeah, the two opposite ends of the spectrum, but not in the middle.
I'm hoping that might creep its way in. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but I hope. The interesting thing about the whole not being able to shoot things until they activate in terrain is very cool. Or within 15 inches, I think.
2 years ago. I wrote the rule for that 2 years ago. There is a document which was fixing 40k with Kill Team, and I wrote about taking the hidden and the concealed and the active tokens and having it so that if you were on conceal, I only did it as the stealth rule, so you were harder to shoot, not that you couldn't be shot. But you couldn't shoot back, and because when you then shot back, you had to flip your marker and you went to engage.
So
it's interesting though, because it does kind of potentially mean that they are looking at other systems for what rules work.
Does it work the same way with the activations with Legions then, or is it not?
No, it's not going to be activations. It's just a case of until you have been shooting, you cannot you're not visible.
You're hidden.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you're giving up that unit's entire shooting phase to sneak. I think what's going to be really interesting is to find out if they can charge from that position.
Yeah, I imagine not. What I'd be interested in is whether you can maintain that status while moving or moving into another piece of terrain. Because I think that would make... I think that would actually make something like the World Eaters very interesting to play then, because it gives you a bit of movement shenanigans. So instead of the whole, I only activate in the one phase, well actually, your movement phase becomes very fun and interesting.
Yeah, and then it's also taking out quite as much importance on first turn as well.
I think that's probably the core reason why they've done it, but there's definitely some interplay there that makes it a very interesting mechanic.
It's gonna make a lot of things that people aren't taking because of take eradicators. The only way you can really run eradicators, because they've got their big melter guns, is you need to stick them in something and run them up the board in that thing. Whereas now, if I can take a squad of eradicators and sneak them up the board and then jump out with a melter gun, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see whether you can do it. That's the interesting thing for me, is how it interacts with movement and whether you can carry it on to another piece of terrain or something like that.
Yeah.
It's also got some potential for some newer, interesting missions as well.
Interestingly, and I appreciate that we're kind of jumping a little bit, because I think it was only announced maybe today when we're recording this. But there were some new detachments that came out, and one of them has a keyword around it, which is all about terrain, which is they get the keyword entrenched, which is if they are inside of terrain, they get the keyword entrenched, and there's a load of things that key off of that keyword in their detachment rules. Basically, it's you get if you're entrenched, you get to reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1.
So it could imply some more terrain interaction.
I do hope so.
So sorry, was there anything else, Jamie, from you in terms of this?
Not in terms of key points, no.
There was a couple that I wanted to go over in terms of it, which I thought was interesting. The benefit of cover has changed. Only in a little way, but I really like the way it's changed.
It's basically the same way it works in Legions, though.
Which is
nice.
You're harder to shoot. Rather than you get a better save, you are just harder to shoot because you're in cover. And the stratagems change I actually really like.
Yeah.
My ideal would be get rid of stratagems, but they're not going to do that because apparently people like them.
You know why?
I mean, I don't mind them, but I can understand why some people don't.
I'm with you there, John.
One per unit per phase.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense in a way. I don't mind it. I don't really care that much. I've never had a problem with stratagems. I can't honestly say there were many occasions where I did stack stratagems on top of each other that I can recall. So again, it doesn't really make much of a deal to me in my mind.
I definitely seem to remember you doing something like that in early 9th.
I'm sure.
I think you had a nasty couple of combos in early 9th.
I'm sure there probably was, but I don't recall them.
One that I don't like, the change to charge. I don't like this proposed change to charging.
I don't mind. It's basically what I've done to charge in Legions.
What have they done?
No, it's because so when you roll your dice to find out where you're going, and then you choose where you'll go, your target.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done with Legions.
But there's no guarantee on your needing to move there. You're just I'm going to pick this thing, and I'm going to it's not a case of you're going to move there, you roll the dice and then you go, oh, well, I'm not going to do it. You don't have to move that distance, at least from what I've read. It's more of a case of...
No, but it is the way I've done Legions, because obviously in 40k you already have moved.
Yeah, okay.
So it's literally the same thing I've done with Legions.
But it's still... yes. Okay, yes. But in Legions, you're still saying, I'm going to charge this thing, and then you roll and you'll move, and you still... Like, the way that you've done Legions is you move in that direction.
Oh yeah, but then in 40k you've already moved in that direction to make the charge. Same principle.
Kind of.
I would say exactly. Because you intentionally moved towards them to roll your dice to make that charge.
Yeah.
So you've already moved into position.
But the difference being is with it when we have it in Legions, where you're moving out and then you're doing the charge in that essentially in that same action. Whereas in 40k you're incentivized to I'm going to move to a advantageous position and then I'm going to roll my charge dice. And previously you would say, I'm going to roll to try and charge that thing. And if you failed, you're just not going to make it to that thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Whereas now you roll and you're like, okay, what's within range of what I've just rolled?
I mean, again, I do the same thing in Legions because you roll your dice and pick whatever is closest to you. Also, I don't think it's a bad change because charging mechanics are brutal in 40k. And if you don't make that charge, that unit just dies 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So at least having the option to charge something isn't a terrible thing.
Yeah.
It also means that bringing things on from Deep Strike is less...
Makes no difference to Deep Strike because you're always going to be 9 inches away from everything.
Yeah.
So it literally doesn't affect Deep Strike at all. Yeah, I honestly, not only do I think it basically is exactly the same of what I'm already working with in Legions, that I rewrote anyway, but also I think, if I know from experience that 40k's charge phase is an absolute brutal mess. If you fail that charge, it is so brutally punishing because then you've got an entire turn of someone shooting at you to kill that unit.
Yeah, okay.
Unlike in Legions, where actually, if you fail that charge, well, at least I've probably got other activations to try and cover my back. So, no, I don't have a problem with it.
Maybe I just misread it.
What's that?
I said maybe I just misread it and misinterpreted the way it was going to be working.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a good change. I genuinely do. And I think you will very much appreciate it, as I know you like very melee-heavy armies these days.
I do like very melee-heavy armies.
So I think you will probably benefit.
I think I probably will prefer it, but I read it as a charging not having consequences, but
Still has consequences, because at the end of the day, if you still roll bad, you still won't going anywhere. Yeah, I think the older version of it was very harsh. It made certain decisions quite a pain in the ass.
I think as well, it adds an extra sort of thing of like, oh, I've rolled really well, I can now tag something else, instead of having to choose, I'm going to tag both of these things and making the charge harder for me.
And thematically it almost makes sense as well, because I've intended to charge them, why is it because I've arbitrarily not actually been able to get up the steam that I can now not charge either of them?
I will stand corrected then.
So I feel like we've attacked you on that one quite a bit.
You did. I was charged in return.
You were countercharged.
I failed that charge and then proceeded to stand out in the open and get shot by three different units. Yeah, maybe if I had this new charge rule, I would have made it instead.
We acted out the theory.
Yeah. Proved your point.
Is there anything else? I appreciate you might be scared to mention anything now, John, but
I was going to say there's more combat disembarkations that you can go through. So apparently,
I seem to recall something now that you mentioned it, but
yeah, basically, like everything you can get out of a vehicle into combat, basically. Whereas previously you could just wrap around, but you get battle shock through it, which is like not the end of the world.
No, well, especially if current battle shock isn't really doing much anyway.
Yeah,
maybe that's what purpose the new land speeder will serve, like getting units into that position to sort of disembark and charge, and potentially giving them a rule that means that they don't get the battle shock.
I see what you're saying, but traditionally, It's not.
The scout land speeder carried a load of scouts, but that was it. And I feel like
Was it actually a transport, or did it just have scouts on it?
you know what? I'd always assumed it was a transport, but actually now
It was a transport. Yeah,
It was.
yeah.
I never thought it was. I always thought it just had scouts on the model.
I had 3 of them. Yeah. It was a transport that you could essentially firing deck from.
yeah, you could transport a scout squad, scout snipers, things like that.
If that's the case, then that could be a role for it. Yeah.
I feel like if it was gonna do that, we probably would have seen that maybe in the trailer. Like that feels like they were trying to show off mechanics of stuff.
There is also the fact that do I want to charge a scout? Generally, no.
Yeah. brave scouts.
They've got sniper rifles. Those buttstocks.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other points? I know you said no. Anything else we want to bring up before we conclude our thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting to see as stuff comes out around it.
Before we wrap up our episode, I basically just want to have a quick little first impressions of 11th edition, whether you're interested in playing it, whether you're apprehensive, whether you've got no interest at all. Yeah, based on what we know, are we interested?
That's kind of my vibe, I think.
I'm going to go, because I'd rather be this than the opposite. I'm going to be quietly optimistic that 11th edition will be an improvement on 10th to the point where I will be encouraged to play it more. I would really like them to see kind of maybe a bit of a shift, towards that more kind of narrative aspect, and also maybe shifting towards like lower point games as well.
I don't think we'll see that.
No, but like I'm thinking about things like taking the lessons from like Age of Sigmar and actually building something around the combat patrol style stuff. You know, Sigmar has the Spearhead game, which has its own thing. Doing more of that kind of like having a bit more of that is then like, okay, you just want to do like a game in an evening. You get your 2 combat patrol boxes, you have a game that you can actually play rather than kind of what it is now, which is like a very watered down version of 10th edition. Like, I just want them to.
As I said, so what I'm getting from that is you don't really care about 11th edition. You're hoping combat patrol is actually the bit that's improved.
Well, like as a means of then getting into more 11th edition. That's my hope is that it becomes. Yeah, I'm gonna be hopeful that there's enough things in there that maybe I can get some more games in.
I think for me, it's the changeover from 9th to 10th. I really didn't vibe with 9th. So then I was quite eager to move on to 10th. I'm quite happy with where 10th is, so I'm more on the side of like, I'll probably move to 11th when things have worked out more, rather than straight at the beginning.
I gotta be honest, I don't really give monkeys.
Fair enough.
I've not missed 10th. 11th hasn't gone to me, I want to play this now, this looks like they've made some cool changes. I think they've made some good changes, but there's nothing in there that excites me. There's nothing in there that's saying, that's the game I'm really keen to play.
Which is a shame, really, with the new edition, I think.
I'm not saying I won't play it. In fact, if you guys want to play it, I'll play it, no problem. But off my own back, I'd rather go back and play 4th.
Now we're talking!
I'd rather go back and play 4th or 5th edition. That's where my love of the game came from, and playing a lot of Legions, which has obviously that much more older style of rule set, it just really cements in my brain that that's the version of the game I enjoyed. That's not to say I won't change my mind on 11th. I will happily try it and give it a go, but
I think at least one game.
I'm not going to go out of my way to play it.
I mean, there's plenty of things I could hope that they do, but I'm not gonna hold my breath on those hopes being brought into fruition.
A mixed bag in general, I would say.
I mean, I'll be honest. I am gonna get the box though.
Are you?
Be interested to see what's in it in the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the box from two perspectives. I mean, I want the models that are in there. I know that I want a jump pack chaplain. I'm always happy for
Are you
more of
going to
that.
paint?
Maybe, eventually. You want to know the actual half of the box that I am more excited by? Orcs. I'm actually like, I'm always just being like, do I just get the orcs half of the box? But
See, talking about doing an edition, right? How would you feel about bashing out that box and then playing it as an episode?
I mean, that could be an option.
Because I reckon, especially if you let me paint the Space Marine, I reckon I can paint the Space Marine really fast.
I mean, could be an option. Could definitely be an option.
Obviously, I'll paint in whatever style you want. They're your models, but we could bash them out.
We could bash them out.
I reckon between the two of us, we could smash out that box.
What do you reckon? We get a live stream going, 24 hours, a whole box.
I mean, you joke about it. Well,
But maybe that's a different conversation for outside of the recording.
I definitely would. It's an option.
Yeah, it's an option. It's definitely an option.
That'd be a good excuse to at least try it out.
It would be a good excuse to try it out.
Yeah.
And I also know that it would actually mean that you get a whole box painted.
It would also mean I get a whole box painted. The wildness of a whole box painted.
On
Maybe.
that bombshell.
On that bombshell.
Maybe we should wrap up, because for us, it has been a long evening, lots of catching up, lots of stuff to talk about. I apologise for the team that it's taken quite so long. But then I kind of also did warn you it would be a long one, so I don't feel that bad.
It's all good. We're fine.
We're back.
We're back. We're all back as well. It's been a while since we've all been on screen together, I think.
Yep.
So hopefully long may it continue. Right, if you guys and girls and everyone else we're happy for me to close out. That's it for today's episode, but we do want to hear from you on what your thoughts on the 11th edition trailer were. Do you agree with me that it was a little bit underwhelming or not? Do you think it was good? Do you think it was great? Was it the best thing since sliced bread? Of course, anything else you'd like to share with us about anything we've spoken about would also be very much welcome in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to check that you've liked and subscribed to the channel, and please remember we are also on the various socials where you can send us all your hobby projects to be featured in a future episode right here. Thank you all for joining us for today's episode, and we will see you next time in the Mead Hall. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Ta-ta.